Welcome to Chicago's Bravest Stories. This episode brought to you by the Frontline Team, your public safety lenders. On the phone today, we have Josh Hill, Joey Matthews from the Frontline Team. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for having us on. As you know, my MLS 1959673. Happy to support you guys on the podcast here and what you guys are doing, telling these stories, particularly this one. As you know, myself and Joey and also Matt on our team are members of the local 717, which Brian Kulaga is a member as well. So we're really happy. We're proud of him and what he's done. So we're really happy to be on supporting this one, Vince.
Well, thanks. We really appreciate it. Joey, this is a crazy purchase market. Would you say that this is a seller's market?
Hey, Vince, what's going on? Yeah, man. So Joey Matthews, NMLS 1330694. This market is insane. It is a seller's market. What that means to our buyers is that you need a pre-approval that matters. Our pre-approvals matter. We will get in front of anything with a list agent, with an attorney, with a seller directly, and we will make sure that in a multiple offer situation, your offer is the one that is selected, and we will guarantee you close.
You can get a hold of the Frontline Team, your public safety lenders, at Facebook at the Frontline Team, or you can give them a call, Joey and Josh, 630-534-2900. Most of your team is comprised of first responders and veterans, right?
Yeah, that's right. So PD, FD, and military. And I'd just like to expand on what Joey just mentioned about getting our borrowers to the closing table. Last year, crazy with purchases too. And in 2020, our whole team, the frontline team, had a 0% fallout for borrower qualifications. So that really proves that our pre-approvals mean something.
If that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. So the Frontline Team, your public safety lenders, you can get a hold of Josh Hill and Joey Matthews at 630-534-2900 or go to Facebook at the Frontline Team. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Vince.
Stephen, thank you. An off-duty firefighter being credited with saving two people from a burning building in West Suburban Lyons. A Cicero Fire Lieutenant was running errands when he saw smoke coming from the second floor of Waterworks Tavern on Ogden. He heard there were two people trapped on the second floor. Without any fire equipment, he ran up the stairs, found one man, but had to think fast to get the second victim.
Smoke was about a foot from the floor. I just crawled until I toward his voice, found him, pulled him down to the floor, and dragged him to the front, dragged him out of the building.
It's heroism there. The lieutenant has been a firefighter for 31 years. Both men expected now to be okay.
Welcome back to Chicago's Bravest Stories. That was a excerpt from a news article from Lieutenant Brian Kulaga from Cicero Fire Department. We actually have the honor of having that man in here in the studio. Thank you, sir, for being here. We appreciate you coming in.
I don't know how much an honor it is, but I'm pretty grateful for you guys letting me come out. Thanks so much.
It's actually 32 years.
I just had the anniversary March 1st.
Well, congratulations. 32 years. God dang.
Right, first half's over. It's only 32 more, and I'll be all done.
Right, and then you'll be able to retire.
Is that the next kid on the list? Is that what you keep on telling him?
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for offers if they really want a spot.
Listen. There's a very specific number has been put out there.
Yeah.
If I find that check, who knows? Who knows what can happen?
Right.
Have you been with Cicero your whole fire career, or where did you start?
All right. I started on as a young 18-year-old kid on Stickney Fire part-time department. Loved my time there. Did a few years there. I was also at the same time on Cicero, but we were on the EMS side as an EMT. Cicero, it wasn't a private company. You were a town employee, but they were separate entities.
So that was back in the day before the contract got there. And
correct, yeah. So that was actually, I hate to say the date, but that was the summer of '86.
Ooh.
So I know you guys weren't even born. I get
you
it.
don't want to know what Vince was doing in the summer of '86.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Vince is
I was a junior in high school.
No way.
Sneaky old.
I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, enough about me.
I was too.
This podcast isn't about me.
No kidding.
What are you, lotion a lot or what? You look great.
Every day.
Look at him.
Every chance I can get.
In one very specific place. Right. So, and that's one thing that I definitely want to dig into you later on, Brian, is that Cicero, one thing that I think is so cool about that department is like just the history of it, and like some of the old school stuff that you guys kept around, like some of the titles you guys had. Like, again, talking to some friends, like you guys had some pretty, like, was firefighter your position when you got hired?
Yeah, pipeman we call is still on the on the ID.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
You get hired on for that specific job?
Yeah, well, that's the title they have.
Oh.
So we're firefighters, yeah.
Pipeman.
So, no,
That is cool.
Yeah, no EMS whatsoever back in those days. Until now, recently, that'll be changing. But
I was saying, that's huge what you guys are going.
Big time. It's
So
I want to skip ahead. I'm too excited.
No, let's talk about the. You guys are going through the Silver Spanner program, and you guys are trying to keep your EMS in house, and you're going to be sending your guys to paramedic school and to fill the gap. People are allowed to come in and fill those shifts while your guys go and take paramedic school, right?
We'll Silver Spanner. We're the exact way the plan was laid out. We started with Plan A. We're probably on Plan Z or something at this point, but it's very fluid. But it's a big win for us. Wouldn't have happened without the union did a great job. Truthfully, management really helped us out with this one, so it was a really good collaborative effort. But somehow it'll get rolled out, and everybody who gets hired is going to be firefighter medic, so those will fill roles. And
is that going to be a contingent of employment now from going on?
Yeah, in fact, when we were debating this in the contract going back and forth with the city rolled out the apps just earlier this year, and the first run out came out is just for the firefighter part, and then they actually pulled those back and redid the ad and said firefighter medic. So everybody who's on this list is medic.
Okay. So I mean,
that's where they all come from.
It seems to be that's the trend nowadays. So if you're looking to do something in this environment, definitely get to go to EMT school, go to medic school, because a lot more departments are going that route now.
Yeah, I think you can almost count on one hand maybe the places that aren't requiring that. The medic.
You had some fun in Stickney.
Yeah.
And you got hired as a village employee for Cicero.
Yeah, so I did them both at the same time. Both that lasted from age 18 to age 20.
Were you testing in other places, or you knew that's where you wanted to go?
So yeah, I'm born and raised in Cicero, and that's where my heart was, and that's I knew since I was a little kid, this is what I wanted to do. I'm kind of blessed that way, and in fact, people always ask how'd you start it. I have no family. I was the first in my family to go into this business. And since then, I have my brother Mark's on the job. My niece Nicole was on the job, and like most kids, 5 years old, I figured I wanted to be a firefighter and astronaut. And then as I aged, I figured out how hard that astronaut thing is. So, I'm like, I don't think about that. But anyway,
maybe part-time Batman now and firefighter.
Yeah, all right.
We'll get to that. We'll get there.
Oh, geez. You guys did some research, huh?
A little bit.
All right. So anyway, when I was, I come from a big family, and so we were born and raised. We're living at 5040 West 30th Place, second house off the corner, and the corner house was a big, giant 3-story balloon frame apartment building, and woke up in the middle of the night, and the back of the place is going great guns. So thought it was daytime. In fact, it was so bright. So I woke my dad ran out. He ran through the yard, jumping over power lines, arcing everything. It was crazy.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 9. So I watched. My dad says, "Go wake everybody up and get them out of the house." And so I got. We come from a family. I had 8 brothers and sisters. So.
This was the house next door. So you were the exposure house?
Yeah. So my dad runs out, and I just bring it up because that's like there's a moment in all of our lives where we realize your dad's actually a badass, and that was mine. And so anyway, I run upstairs. All the brothers and sisters were putting on our moon boots and our Gore-Tex coats because it was dead of winter, freezing cold. Uh-huh. And we run out the front door, and I'm looking at the building next door, and it's burning. There was a firefighter standing on the street from Cicero lads were already there working, and he's standing on the street, and he's got his back to the building. And the guy who lived in the building, one of the old timers, he stored gas upstairs. He was like a hoarder if he bought it cheap, Anyway, the third floor explodes, and the front of the building falls straight into the street, and it lands about 3 feet from this guy, and he doesn't budge. And I remember at the moment, like it was yesterday, I grabbed my twin brother, Paul, and I says, I want to be that guy when I grow up. So that was what started off. Now, the funniest part of the story is Fast forward to years later, I get on a job at a 22-year-old kid, and I tell the same story to the guys I'm working with, and a bunch of them are still in the job. They remember the fire, and the guy who was standing there was, and I love this guy to death, his name was Rich Gorski, who was a great guy, a god-awful, terrible fireman. And he would tell you that he was a terrible, terrible fireman. He never went in, and that's the reason he was standing on the street that day, because he was not a guy who would go into a burning building. And he says, yeah, that was me. And I says, you never moved? He goes, yeah, I never saw it. He goes, once it landed, he goes, I shit my pants.
I never saw it.
So I molded my career after this guy is what got me into this game. So
comes full circle.
Yeah, right.
Always comes full circle.
So we did both. And then
What
they
happened to
brought,
your pop?
he ran next door, kicked in some doors, woke everybody up, got them out. Kind of maybe to a mild degree, kind of akin to what got me, you guys invite me to this thing. And I just told him I have a 24-year-old son. I told him, I says, all right, Pops did it. I did it. I go, you're next. So
Right.
I says, that's where the bar
Start
is
training
set.
now.
Yeah. So.
In 20 more years, it's going to be up to you.
Yeah.
God.
Somebody's got to pass this torch on. So.
One day somebody's going to look at you
Right.
being a terrible fireman and say, I want to be that guy.
Yeah. So.
That is a great story that
Yeah.
you molded your career after your guy that
Yeah, and we became
self-admittedly was like, I am no good.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you want a couple hours, I could tell you some stories about that guy. But, but a great guy, just, he organized everything. And he's the guy in the job who organized our softball teams and our parties, so he's great for
Gotta
that.
have that guy.
Absolutely. But when he went out the door, he just announced, I'm not going in any of that stuff. So you're like, all right, we got it.
I think that's called an engineer, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's so sweet. Yeah, a
He'd
couple of those.
been great at that, except he rode the back steps. So,
okay.
Oof. So wow. So I mean, I could see how that could kind of drive in that direction. What kind of took off after that? So you just kind of went through school, your working class family, I'm assuming.
Absolutely, blue collar family. Mom and dad, how they paid the bills with 8 of us.
I was gonna say, Jesus.
It was crazy, but they did it. I know that they did a great job. I never for one moment felt like we were poor or anything. But anyhow, move on.
Were, so.
Oh yeah, we were. I didn't know it, but anyway, go to high school, and with the direction I'm going to go to college and study some of this stuff. And I was actually breaking. It was going to be this or architect because I wasn't sure I could land this job. So. But I just said, well, I knew I didn't want to be behind a desk for the rest of my life. Yeah. So started going to college, and the first class I took was EMT. And I met the great Rick Bosek, Cicero lieutenant at the time. And
did you go to, what is that, Marine?
Morton College.
Morton, I'm sorry, yeah.
And I met Rick, and after we graduated EMT class, he says, hey, you want a job for Cicero? I can make that work for you. And I said, well, how much does that pay? He says, $18,500. And that was 1988. Or 1988 or 86, and I said, "Well, that might have sounded like $1 million to me."
Oof.
So took that, and that's what got me in the door for the, the EMS side of this fire department, anyway.
Yeah.
So back then, when you were on the EMS side, like you weren't even. It wasn't even like a jump company. You were just strictly an EMT on an ambulance.
Yeah, you worked out of a firehouse. You were in the same house. But they wore blue. We wore brown. We looked like meter maids. And we were abused. We were treated like absolute garbage. So that was the game. That was all right.
Well, I know that game has gone on for a long time. That
it absolutely
the
has.
Abuse of from you guys to the contract.
Yeah. And we got pretty good at it.
Right, separate kitchens or separate.
Like
you guys completely separate.
Yeah, they don't eat with us. And back in the day, no eating with us, no associating with us. They come over, get the hell out of here.
And it just all stems from that separation from when you guys were in the brown shirts and stuff like that. Like, did you guys foster that animosity back then? Were you guys really
as the brown shirts guys? No, we would. Oh God, we would give our right arms to be them. They just. I think there was always a threat from their end about the jobs, or we always just looked down upon. And then that just continued. So that was when, fast forward to 88, they brought the contract in. And they offered us all jobs and sliding over to them. Most of the guys took it. I was a young guy. I says, not for me. I knew I didn't really want to be in EMS. So I just started testing. I was testing out anyway. I was without a job for maybe a month, and Tri-State Fire Protection called me. So I went out there for a short 9-month period. And then Cicero called me, and
that's where you want to be the whole time.
Took that, yeah. So.
Well,
and I got to thank you.
It took 32 years for you guys to get your EMS.
Get it back,
Cicero, yeah. For Cicero Fire Department to get their EMS back.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's to say that there was EMS, you know, like even back then. I mean, how professional of an operation do you feel the EMS was when you were on the ambulance back then?
It was what you thought it was.
You guys still went to shooting, stab. I mean, the demographic isn't that different back then than it is now, is it?
No, well, I mean, truthfully, it's the town's done a bang up job, and we're way better than we used to be. My first day as an EMT was we had 18 runs. I had 3 shootings, 2 stabbings, and a father-son fight where they threw each other out of the second floor plate glass window. So it was a quite fresh out of EMT school. I never expected all that stuff.
You're brand new at this.
Brand
you're
new.
Brand new, and these are the runs that you're getting on your first day.
Yeah, I remember after the 4th shooting, it was a guy in a bar, and and by the time I felt like I was a grizzled veteran by 18 hours into this thing, because I just walked in, I'm like, all right, somebody shot in here, and there was a guy sitting at a bar drinking a whiskey, and he says, yeah, me. He raises his hand. I'm like, all right, what do you got? And he says, some guy walked in, shot him in the leg, and ran out. And I says, all right, let's go. You coming? And he says, yeah. He says, hang on. He slammed his whiskey and he walked to the ambulance, which I know that's not the right thing to do, but I was.
Depends on who you ask.
Right?
I mean,
he insisted. So.
He insisted.
Right. That's the way it gets documented.
Documentation.
and you know what? I got to thank the Cicero Fire Department personally, because, like, you guys have lent credence to every time I've ever told a medic that they're going to eat on the bay floor. Or, like, you actually validated every joke I've ever made about it, because it actually happened over by you guys.
Oh yeah. We ate at separate tables. They used to write insults on the table for us, and then.
So the contract is still there as we speak, though, right?
Correct. Yeah.
How is that relationship right now?
So truthfully, it's better. It got better over the years. To credit to them. We had like a one level of animosity at the beginning. Then the town pitted us against each other. There was a bad time some decades back where they said they were going to take our job. So that really, I thought we really couldn't find a new level to be mean to them. We found a whole. we got
dug deep for that.
Yeah, we got pretty creative, and then that dissipated, and they. Then the lads, people from Metro there, they tried to go union and did some version of that, which I don't really know the details of. But so then the International said, hey, knock that stuff off. Let's be more supportive. So it became a much better workplace for them, I think. So over the last, it's been a while. They eat with us now. You wouldn't tell the difference between them and us.
Any kids end up making the crossover to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
We've got, in fact, especially with this new list, we've already put on. It used to be a death sentence if you tried to make that crossover. It just never happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. First,
You'd be better.
I'm doing air quotes, but there was a way that didn't happen.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And but now it's I won't say it helps them any, but it certainly doesn't hurt them.
Right.
So we've probably got a good. I have to do the math in my head. Half a dozen, maybe 8, 9 guys who crossed over from the contract over the years.
I would think that would something that you guys would want to do is have these guys who are already familiar with the guys who have lived in that firehouse with you. As long
especially
they're
if you
good
like
guys,
them.
if you like them, you definitely want to keep those guys.
Yeah. So you guys are on the job. You know how that works when it comes to the contracts, and I know it's not fun to say, but I don't think I'm sharing any state secrets here. The good ones latch on and get on the municipalities. The bad ones get stuck in their system for a long time, and there's a reason that's because the good ones move and the bad ones are bad.
Right.
So, if the bad ones cross over, we're all for it.
I don't want to speak badly of the contract because we've all worked on a contract. For me, it was a great learning experience being on the contract. Especially, I was lucky enough when I came on the contract that I had an amazing partner. How was your guy when your first day? Was he a seasoned guy, or was he as new as you when you had all those shootings and everything like that on your first day?
That's a good question. So my partner was supposed to be this guy, Dennis Hamilton, who was a good EMT. But he took a month's vacation the day I started. And so the way they did it is they just filled in with the newest, youngest firefighter on the job. They just put him on a box with you and said, all you do is drive and lift everything. Basically, they were poorly trained guerrillas. So I was a brand new EMT, and the guy on the rig that day was his first day as a firefighter. Now, he was a 35-year-old guy fresh out of the military, Mark Steining, a big, giant, strong guy, but he didn't know anything. So it was talk about new. Our first run.
So you were in charge of all of this on
Yeah,
your first
our
day.
first. In fact, 7:30 we start. 7:31 we got a run, and we didn't even seen an ambulance before. So we got on it. We went to the call with no lights and sirens because we didn't want to turn them on. And they're just like, "What are we doing?" Like, "That's for you. Go." I'm like, "What does that mean?" I'm again fresh out of ET school. Right. This is my first day, and
you guys combined make one good EMT.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know if he made one good one. We made about a half of one. I'm trying to fumble through a blood pressure. He's asking me, "What are you doing with that thing?" And so we figured it out. By the end of the day, we were,
Now you were seasoned.
We were seasoned after that, yeah. So,
no kidding. Yeah, so you're going along, you're trucking along, and how was not Cicero? How was Stickney?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Such a great. Kids ask nowadays, "What should I do?" And one of the things you nailed it. First off, is go get your EMT and your medic. But I always tell them try to find a place that's and cut your teeth on a part time or even a volley. Nothing better for training. They usually train you up pretty good. Stickney was great about that. I got some great mentors. I still in contact to this day. John Babinick is their deputy chief, and he was, I always call him captain because that was his rank back then. And if any young guy ever needs a great guy to look up to and mentor, he's definitely on that list. Teaching you just the right way to do things and taking you under his wing. And I got so much out of that. The other cool thing is, shout out to a couple of guys out there in the jobs. A bunch of us met up there. We're all 18-year-old kids thinking we're going to save the world. And so we formed Andy Hilks on Naperville. Glenn Vanek recently retired from Evanston after only 25 years. What a quitter. Bob McDermott, great guy, chief of Forest Park, now the chief of North Riverside. Pat Brenz on Tri-State. So we about 6 or 8 of us formed a friendship way back then, and every year we get to we all then went out and became real goddamn firefighters. Yeah. And every year we get together for dinner and drinks and tell each other how great we are, and so that came of that too, and all the great stuff. Same thing when you see kids in like an academy, that bond you get, So I love my time there.
So I was actually at Stickney for a little while. And did you used to go to that water reclamation plant and do training over there?
Yes.
Is that the scariest place you've ever been in?
Oh, it's terrible.
It is like the movie Saw, if it was a big industrial building. Like, there's got to be bodies in that place somewhere, I
mean.
But they kind of let us go in there, and they're just like, knock out whatever you want. Yeah, just have at it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're incredibly accommodating over there. Huh. Absolutely. And they got just a ton of different cool places to play on from a TRS standpoint to everything else.
I know, I know that I'm trying to think. Same thing. Like when I was growing up, like I didn't have, I'm like the first in my family ever do anything in the fire service too. And like that time on like a part-time or volunteer place, like I never knew that was like an option. I think I was actually already a contracted guy when I started looking at that point. I'm like, man, like how come this should have been like one of the first things I did was like hop into this part-time or volunteer thing, because like it would really, it really shows you like what being a fireman's about and your entry level stuff. Like I never had that personally. I think that would have been a cool experience.
Yeah.
You never had that when you first came on?
Like I had no fire experience before I became a full-time fireman. Like I, again, as a medic, as a contract medic, but never anything fire before.
But at least by the time you got to your career job, you knew your way around the firehouse. You knew how to act. You knew what not to do.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
And the guys those guys, said, "Oh, this guy's being an asshole." You knew why.
Right.
So
right.
I think
the dishes, like the important things.
Little,
absolutely.
Those are the little things that make or break you in the firehouse. When you say in your years in the firehouse, it's the little things, And if you fuck up one time, you're known for that for the rest of your career.
Yeah, right. Your first year just set such a bar, but yeah, that's a great benefit, like you say, of those smaller places to join on. You learn all those little nuanced things that you never knew.
Especially out by you guys, where you guys are pretty busy out there.
Yeah, we get our share, so it's pretty nice.
So you kept on, you stuck with Stickney for a little bit after you started with Cicero, or?
A little bit, but quickly when we got on, the contract, they changed in the contract language. You can't work for another department like a lot of contracts have now. And so that ended that. The time I got on Cicero, I got on at age 22. That wasn't actually the first time I tried to get on, being born and raised. And I think I can tell this story because everybody involved is dead. Back then you could take the test at 19. So, I'm going to take the fire test. And so I put the app in and have no idea how the world works, especially over there. Yeah. And about a week or so goes by, and I knock at the door. It's our local precinct captain, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, like an alderman, covers an area, right? And he says, ask for my dad. So my dad and him go in the kitchen. I hide at the top of the stairs, and I'm listening in. And the guy says,
are you thinking you're in trouble at this point?
Well, I knew it was involving me. So, like any good kid, I'm going to sneak a listen.
Oh, yeah.
And so the guy says to my dad, he says, yeah, I saw your kid put an app for the fire department. And my dad says, yeah, that's right. He says, all right, well, here's how it works. It's $5,000. You pay me, and I'll take care of everything else.
Get out, for real?
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
And I
only heard about that. I didn't know that was a real thing.
So, yeah, and then I won't say the names of anybody. But so my dad says, no, I don't think about it. And the guy leaves. And so when I come down the stairs, my dad says, you hear all that? And I says, yeah. He says, well, what do you think? I says, well, you got $5,000.
I know I don't.
And he says, no, I don't.
I'll pay you back in a year.
Yeah. He says, I don't. He says, but if you really want it, I can try to get it. Dad, he was a good guy. Yeah. And I says, you know what? Screw him, I said. I says, I'm fresh. I'm in college now. I'm smart. I says, I'm in good physical shape. I said, I'll kill this test. And he says, I got this. And he says, all right. So I go to the test, and we go to morning college, and we all show up, and they put us in groups for the first thing we're going to do is the physical agility, which, that's the only thing I had going for me. I certainly wasn't good looking and pretty stupid, but I could do pretty well.
Run us through what the physical agility test was back when you took it.
For Cicero?
Yeah.
They were making up as they went along.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was clearly just a made-up, and you're about to understand why. So we're all milling around. They put us in groups, and, they had some half-ass obstacles things set up and just go drag like this bag of weights around on the front lawn. It was really clearly just made up in the moment. Yeah. But before it even started, there's an old-timer walking around, and he's got a clipboard, and he's calling out names, and he comes past my group. He says, Kulaga? And I says, yeah, that's me. He says, yeah, you fail. Get the hell out of here. And I says, I fail? I says, I didn't even do anything yet. He says, you fail. Get the hell out of here. And I says, I realized right then and there. I says,
because he didn't get the envelope.
Yeah. I realized this is, oh, boy. This is how this works.
I'm going to do this on my own.
Yeah. So that was a wake-up call. So the next list came out. I was number 1, and maybe when I retire, I'll tell that story. So,
I
figured out how the world worked a little bit.
Well, is that who was the politician that got in all that trouble there?
Betty Lynn Maltese?
Yeah. Was that the era?
No, this was way before that.
Okay.
Betty came in somewhere in about maybe the first third of my career.
Okay.
And for the record, Betty and I were friends. She came to our wedding.
Did she get a raw deal, or did she have that coming? Because she did jail time.
No, they did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if she was here, she would say she didn't. But no, my opinion, yeah, they did it.
But again, I feel like so much of that. I was, my parents got divorced, and my mom remarried, and her husband. I grew up in the city, and my stepdad, her new husband, he was a city curb and gutter guy. And that was I was finally getting my shit together as a kid. Finally get my shit together. I think I just started Malcolm going through there. And I remember, he was talking to me. He's like, oh, are you serious about this fireman thing? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And he's like, all right, I'm going to call up, my local alderman or whatever in the city. And again, he was talking about, this was still a thing. And this, not that long ago, no. And I mean, obviously nothing ever came of it, but I'm like, this is that was standard operating back then.
Yeah, it was, and I don't want to, we joke about it. It's not there anymore. It's certainly, if it is, it's definitely dumbed down. We had the mayor's kid took the test and he failed. He didn't get the job. The fire chief's kid took the test twice. He was way down on the list the first time. The second time he got on, he did better and he got on. So it's definitely not like that anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and any of the old timers like me will tell you it was clearly a different world back then.
Oh,
I love hearing those stories about the way things. You got the good, you got the bad. So yeah. I love hearing those stories about how things. So How long ago after you failed, quote unquote, did you go back, and what was different about that?
Well, I failed when I was back then. You could take it when you were 19, and then it was some legal thing, but it said you could, I could tell you because there was a clout guy who was 19 and he wanted to take the test, and that's how that got dumbed down. The second time I took the test, and
you didn't get a visit.
Like I say, that story, that one I'll tell that story.
Okay.
Maybe when I write my book or when I retire.
Yeah.
But I got a brother on the job, so I can't.
Okay, all right.
I want to get him in Dutch. Besides, I just mentioned the Betty thing you asked about, Corey. I'm going to just start my car when I leave here.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Thanks. So, the second time I got the list came out, I was number 1 and super happy. I remember when I got the call. Man, I was just like a little schoolgirl. I was jumping for joy.
This
over
whole
the
time
moon.
you were actually you knew where you wanted to be. You finally get that phone call.
Oh yeah.
Was it weird going from the brown shirt to now a blue shirt?
So it was some degree it was, and then we talked about what a different age it was. So I knew a bunch of the firemen being there for a couple of years on the box, and so when I came in, that was good. But I was still looking for a familiar face, and there was a lieutenant there. Named Ralph Boshin, and for the record, this isn't going to sound like he's a great guy, but he was. When we were kids, when I was a kid, his sons John and I were the same age. We played baseball together, Little League, and his dad coached us. So, I'm walking the firehouse and I'm looking for a familiar face. A little nervous first day, and there's my lieutenant. I'm assigned to truck 2, the hook and ladder, and Mr. Boshin is the lieutenant. And I see, oh, geez, I remember this guy when I was a kid. Nice, typical dad, right? And I walk in, I said, "How you doing, Mr. Boshin?" He looks at me, "You shut the fuck up." And I look at my son, I'm sorry. He's a grizzled old guy, and he says, "You shut the fuck up. You understand me? You don't say another word for the next 5 fucking years. Do you understand me?" And I don't even know if I should answer because he just told me to shut the fuck up for 5 years. And I says, that was my intro as a 22-year-old kid to that house, and then so
this is gonna be super cool, obviously,
right? And it turns out that's I didn't bounce much as a young guy on the job because I got assigned a truck 2, which is a hook and ladder, which is where you wanted to be, but I got there because nobody wanted to work with that guy.
Oh,
because he was mean as as a snake, as a hornet, but. What he did is he put up this big front, and then when no one was around, he'd pull me on the side. "Hey, I got to be mean, blah, 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 this and that."
Oh.
As soon as somebody walked in the room, "Get the fuck out of here."
What are you still doing here?
And so he was he was a great guy.
It's a great move.
He had a method.
Not a bad move.
He had a method to his madness, and that was his style. And once we went out on the street on the job, then he wasn't like that. He'd let you go play and do whatever the hell. Really aggressive. So
what was your first fire, and were you with him?
I was on.
And you were a truck guy at this time.
I was, yeah.
Okay.
And God bless the way the system worked. I know you guys come from different places too. We had a strange system in Cicero, and it kind of continues a little bit to this day. Is the trucks are king in Cicero, and God bless it because it falls right to what I love. But Corey, you're a big guy. I'm assuming you're a truck dude.
Yeah, more or less.
No, you're not an ambulance guy today, so you don't have to say that shit.
Not anymore. We, we just start getting back in the truck game and like really making a priority over by us. But yeah, I am now.
Yeah.
Last year I've been truck guy.
Good. And obviously you look at all your muscles. Yeah. I'm assuming Vince is a big.
Oh, Vince carries the truck to the calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a medic in the city. So
no, not today.
Oh,
in your heart.
Today.
What is in your heart, Vince?
Oh, what my heart? I love doing truck work.
Attaboy.
There is
That's
nothing better than truck work.
There's a reason those engines exist. I'm not sure why. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I know they get in our way a lot.
Oh, I'm really upset Steve isn't here.
Oh, yeah.
He's
a hardcore engine guy.
He is an engine anchor.
So, well, I guess somebody's got to block up all the hallways.
Oh, no, and he does.
So I got put on that truck. The way it worked is we had 2 trucks. We still do. And the one truck on the north side, we put one guy on it, and his job was just to get it to the scene. Okay. The engines all got 3 people, and they took every extra buy, and they piled it on truck 2. It was not uncommon for us to have 6, 7, 8 gentlemen hanging off of that thing. And it was a good old days. You hung on the side, Yeah. And
open cabs.
And the mantra was just to all the engine companies out there, just hang on till the truck gets there and they'll take care of everything. And now you talk about the cloud system. Well, like you say, you get the good, you get the bad. We had, I think, 25 bodies on shift. You might have had 6 or 8 people who would go into a building. And it would sound stupid. So we would, as truck guys, we would pull up to a fire. Yeah. And the this was incredibly common. They would have the line off at the front door, and they'd be presenting it to you, like on a pillow. Like, here's your line. Got this? And they were like, yeah. And so you took the line. So
a truck guy would take the line in?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, there were only about 6 to 10 of us who would ever actually do any actual firefighting back in these times. And it sounds bad, but as a young guy, it's what you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
You go in and, like, so it'd be us, right? So we'd crawl in and say the 3 of us, we'd pair up, we'd take the line, we'd go in. Well, at some point, somebody would be yelling, hey, we need somebody to do a search. All right, so maybe you and me, Corey, we stay on the line, and you head off by yourself and go search too. And then somebody yelling, hey, we need a hole in the roof. I'm like, all right, Corey, you got the nozzle? Good, take this by yourself. I'm going to the roof by myself.
Roof real quick. Yeah.
And so whatever you wanted to do, you did. So every fire wasn't like one fire. It was like 3 or 4 in experience. Yeah. Now, we lost a lot of buildings, and we couldn't figure out why. I figured out years later it's because only like half was actually doing anything, but the experience level just was so good.
With all that truck work, does Cicero go to the roof?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely in our top moves to make. And I'm super proud of that.
I mean, I with so many truck guys going inside and putting out the fires, I was wondering if you guys actually.
Well, they have plenty of guys outside to set up the truck.
Yeah,
so it's good.
Yeah. No, actually, when I first started, truck work, roof work was not there. That's only over the last 15 years, and that's through a series of events. We had some aggressive VCs, we had some aggressive officers, and it made it part of our play. But over the last 15, I'm really happy with our roof work. So.
Well, I know that you're a big proponent of training, and I can't imagine that you're not gonna, with your kind of time on and with your history of being on that truck for so long, that you're not really gonna. I'm sure you have some say in the implementation of some of that training. You're at Romeoville as well.
Yes, sir.
And you're doing the training there. So training's a big part of who you are, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
Was that where you met with some resistance when you wanted to push a little more training than people were used to when you got there?
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Did you have to wait till you became an officer to actually put some of that in
Absolutely.
play?
Yeah.
Really?
The training as a blue shirt, if I wanted to do anything, it was by myself, off hiding in a corner, keep quiet, whisper. You get
underneath
yelled
the blanket
quietly. Yeah, I definitely trained under the blanket a few times. That was a specialty. But yeah, when I became a lieutenant, then you could really have a much bigger say, and then you get the people that gravitate toward you, and you start working the system to get the good people around you, and that's what, and then it just you get a movement started. You know how it is, and that's, I think, and it's not me. It's there's great guys out there. I worked with Josh Hill, the great Josh Hill, I should say. Stupid, sexy Josh.
He's they're a sponsor of this show.
So. Well, he should. He's got a ton of money.
He's coming in. He's coming in. We're gonna do.
Is he gonna have a shirt on or off for this? Because you have to videotape this thing, or I'll just come in. So
I think it's everyone's got to have their shirts off. That's
the new policy.
All right. Yeah, I like that.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, sure. I'll have to cut some weight, I think, a little bit.
Now like I do. So when you started, did you guys have your own in-house academy, or did you go anywhere? Or?
No, all on the job learning.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? So you didn't have a formal academy. When you showed up for your first day at the firehouse as a fireman,
first day
was legitimately your first day. You didn't even know what any of this stuff was.
Well, I was on Stickney for a couple of years.
As a fireman,
I was on Stickney for a couple of years, and I got all my training. Got my fire, back in the old days, the old Firefighter 1, 2, and 3, and so I had that from there. But what I did not have is a lot of actual firefighting experience. Stickney, I got all my experience came from coming to Cicero for fires from Stickney. So being on a box.
So you were putting out Cicero fires before you ever got in Cicero.
Correct.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So
that'll work.
Yeah. So that's my first actual Cicero fire was when I was on Stickney and I came there.
Well, let's call that one your first fire. How'd that go? That was your first fire?
Yeah, my first ever fire was Cicero Fire. Yeah.
And were you on the engine there?
I came there on Stickney's truck, and it was awesome.
Were you first truck?
Well, no, we came there on a box.
Oh, okay.
So they had 3 houses going at the
So
time.
you were just manpower at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a great fire. I fell through the attic floor and got stuck and got smoke
Jesus.
inhalation and spent the night in the hospital.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, that was my first ever fire.
Before you met your wife?
Yeah. No, we were dating. We were high school sweethearts, the wife and I. So,
So your very first fire, you fall through. So what, you were doing a search?
yeah, so we got there. They had 3
Basement
houses
fire?
going. No, 3 houses going. The middle one was just, nothing but fire, and it's catching the 2, Cicero.
Oh, okay.
We're like Chicago. We got the 3-foot gangways. And so they send some crews into the next to the building. So we had walked down stupidly in our ignorance without air packs, and so our trucks, a block away. And they says, "Hey, get packs, you're going in." Well, being that I used to be on Cicero, I grabbed a Cicero pack, since I knew where they were on the rigs, and I got paired up with this Lieutenant Tommy Santoro. He ended up making chief. He's retired now, good guy. And so it's just the 2 of us. So we go into the next building. We open the door to the attic, and black goo comes out. So he says, "All right, we're going to need a line." So, of course, we go and get the old trusty booster and drag that 300 feet in, because that's what you used back then. And so I'm following him, and this is my first experience. I don't know what the hell's going on. So we go into the attic, and about half the attic's going. So he just lights it up, and he starts pushing it back. And so I'm following him. He's just yelling for more line. So at some point, he's in one in the attic, and I'm somewhere in the middle. And unbeknownst to me, the guy was renovating his place, and he had cut the floor away, and I'm standing on just the air duct.
Oh,
I didn't know it. And I'm pulling line. I'm standing up in this stuff, and I'm pulling line, and as I pull, the floor drops like 6 inches, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" And then the whole thing just went out from under me. So I went down, and I threw my arms out. My pack got hooked on a piece of conduit, so I'm hanging there. But my mask fell off. My helmet went flying.
Oh, shit.
I started screaming like a little kid. "Oh, Jesus, I'm dying. Get me out of here." Well, no one came, because it was just me and him, and he never heard me. And so I just...
no radios back then either,
no.
for every guy.
No, we didn't have any of that. So I got...
Pass alarms back then?
Yeah, the old ones that you had to turn on by hand.
Right.
Which I never turned on. I didn't know any of that shit. So I thought there was a pretty lighted up thing that was on the air pack. And so I got mad. I remember just getting incredibly angry, and I filth and foul, climbed out, found my mask, put that on, found my helmet, put that on. I crawled up to Tommy, and she was like, "Where the hell you been? Here, take the line. I'm out of air. I'm going." And I was like, "All right." I go,
cool.
"Be careful. There's a hole back there."
Yeah.
And he disappeared. Now I'm up there by myself, and there's orange up there, and I'm like, everything that you ever learned in a class, now it's going through my mind. This is going to backdraft. It's going to flash over. It's going to do whatever. Turned out it was just a bunch of boxes going in the attic, but I was terrified till somebody came and relieve me.
Real enough, that's for fucking sure.
Yeah.
Well, you just fell through a hole.
Yeah. Worked for about, I don't know, maybe another half hour, and I remember I was swinging an axe doing some overhaul, and I kept missing the wall. And the guy next to me goes, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, why is the wall moving around so much?" Well, it turns out I had taken in a little bit too much. Off to the hospital for blood gases and the works. So that was my first fire.
Yeah.
Well,
That was all right.
Yeah.
it was one of the most eventful first fires that we've talked about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old booster in the three house fire.
Yeah. We got better than that.
Is that all that was left, or you guys that was standard procedure to like grab a booster line?
That was standard for those days. It was
I
easy.
feel like back in the day I heard that a lot. That was why they kind of like got away from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We same way. It worked out well sometimes, and other times that's when you lost. I will blow it out with this thing, but not so much when you're only putting out a couple of 40 gallons. It wasn't really doing the trick. But it was, like I say, it was taken for convenience, and you know the drill.
Harry said you guys had one pretty early on in you guys together, right?
Oh, yeah. That was a good day.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was, we had 3 structure fires in one day. And, Harry was there, a couple other good dudes, Sean Aherns and Steve Fiore. I was working on an engine that day.
Pretty early on in, or how many years do you have on?
I had probably about 15 because I just made lieutenant, and I did a flip with a great guy, Danny Kempsky, and I flipped because I'm on the engine. I remember walking in that day and asking him, "What's all this stuff on the back of the rig for?" And let's pull it off and put ladders up there. So we went 3 fires that day, and the one with Harry was great. We went to Berwyn, and they had an attic going really good, multi-story, and the fun part of that one was Dennis O'Halloran was the chief in Berwyn, and we asked if we take a run at it, and so he teamed us up with Greg Demena, a company from Berwyn and us, and we went up there. And the whole thing, the attic was going really good all over, but it was really compartmentalized. They had built out all the walls. Mm-hmm. So Harry had the nozzle, I remember, and we went in the first room, so he knocked it out. And we tried to pop out and to go down the long hallway to start knocking it. We couldn't beat it back. It was really just winning the day. So we ended up punching a hole in the wall to the next room, fire blast out that. Harry stuck the nozzle in there, spun it around, darkened the room down. Then we blasted through the wall, made a door out of it, fought that room, and we just did that all the way down 5-6 rooms down to the front of the building.
Just keeping working your way from room to room, just in the same manner. Punch a hole, darken it down,
knock it out, make a door, keep going.
How many times did you have to do that?
There were 6 rooms up there, and it was crazy. And Harry was on the nozzle, and and the other guys, Fior, completely dead afterwards, running out of air. But a really great move by their part.
Which was that? The first fire of the 3 or the last one?
That was the first one of the day.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So,
thank God it was the first one.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the last one was, so it's like 10 o'clock at night, and we've already had 2, and we're like, holy shit. It's like the old days, right? And so now we get a call for smoke in the area, and we used to send an engine to that. And so hot summer night, so we drive out. It's supposed to be by the Laramie Bridge, and I don't know if you're familiar with 25th and Laramie, but anyway, I'm thinking it's bums under the bridge with a campfire going or something. So I have the driver take us under the bridge, and there's nothing there, but we can see a haze and we can smell smoke. So Harry and Sean, the other guy in the rig, get off, and they said, we'll walk around the bridge to the other side of the street and we'll take a look. So they walk under the bridge and they disappear around the column. And about 10 seconds go by, and here they come around in a full-ass sprint, running toward me. And they're running. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, there's a fucking house on fire. And I was like, you fuck yourselves, I says. I figured they set me up, and they're busting. I'm like, and they're running. They're putting their gear on. I'm like, get out of here. So I'm like, I'm waving them off.
I see, huh?
Yeah, I'm really good to stick to me with this joke, right? Yeah. And I'm like, go out, F yourselves.
Stretch a line, way to go.
Yeah, I'm like, F yourselves, and I walk down the thing, walk under the bridge where they were, and I come around the corner, and sure enough, the house on the corner's got 3 windows of fire in it. I'm like, son of a bitch. So we run back, and I get on the radio. I'm trying to get dressed real fast, and I get on the radio and tell dispatch, give me a full still here. We got a house on fire. And they're like, what's the address? I'm like, I don't know. We're going around the block now. I go, just start them into this area. I'll give you an address in a minute. I said, so.
Jesus.
And that was the last one of the night.
Oh, my God.
But that was a good day.
Yeah. And the last fire was at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, 10
You probably got to sleep all night.
Yeah, after we cleaned up and everything, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So.
Man. Yeah, no, and you had 15 years on. So going back to the training thing, when did you start getting involved with the training thing? Early in your career? Or?
I just say, let's give credit where credit's due. We all have our mentors, right? So I've got a bunch of them, the great Ray Andell, and, on the job alone, Ray Andell, Rick Bosek, George Gregory, the great Billup Butka, all these guys. Ray was the first guy in that truck, so I had Ralph, the mean guy. Yeah. Ray was this great veteran guy, still alive, living in just outside of Oswego nowadays. Shout out to Ray. He was so different. Back then, as you guys know, nobody wanted to share information because they were so afraid you'd take their job. Yeah. Ray was different. I'd be a kid playing with, I'd sneak over to the truck and I'd open a compartment. I want to play with something, and the guys would lean out of the kitchen. What the hell are you doing? Get the hell out of there and get in here. We're watching a movie for the 3rd time.
Right.
And except Ray. Ray was different. Ray would come out and he said, "What do you want to know?" And the other old timers would bust his balls. They're like, "Hey, shut up, leave the kid alone." And Ray just wave him off, and so that's where I got that from. Anything you want to know, he'd show you. And then he was so great at fires. We talk about, we got to take the young kids, show them how to pull ceiling. Well, I think after about 10 minutes, I think that kid's got pulling ceiling down to a pad, right? It's the little stuff that Ray did. We'd pull up to a house, and we'd be coming down the block, and he'd grab me, and he'd go, "Hey, 2nd floor, see the glass blocks?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So fucking what?" And he was like, "All right, good." And then I didn't know what he was trying to do for me. And then afterwards, he was like, "Why do you care if there's glass blocks?" I'm like, "I don't know." Yeah. He's like, "Well, that's where the bathrooms are. So if the bathrooms are there, where are the bedrooms laid out?" And I'm like, "They're across the hall." He's like, "Right." He says, "And you want to know that now, not at 2 a.m. So he's getting me to learn layouts of buildings and reading them. He would do the stuff like we'd stop at the door. He says, "Look at the smoke. Is it taking the whole door? Is it only the top half? Whatever." And then realize, okay, if it's the whole door, it's probably below us. If it's only half a door, it's going to be, but he would just he had a great knack of stopping you in the moment and let you point something out. It took 5 seconds. Got it? Okay, let's go. And then when it was over, he would point out what he was doing.
So you really got a teachable moment with him. With
Oh,
Ray.
yeah. So that's where that came from. And so I wanted to make sure I try to do that to the next group.
Yeah.
And
what more sticks in your head than like you're in the middle of just being, getting ready to bowl through something. It's like, all right, calm down for a second.
Right. It was very typical of that whole young bull, old bull thing. I'm going to run down and bang everything on a pasture. And he's like, let's just walk down.
Right.
Or something. So, and that's, So, yeah, but we were not a big training department, and it wasn't big in those days. And but when you made rank, then you can have some say in some stuff. And our mantra was simple: if you want to do something with your company, go do it. And if you didn't have to. So it worked out well for me.
Yeah.
And then the training thing I got into, my wife. She's a teacher, and she's incredibly good at her job. She's won a ton of awards, and I see what she does and what it is. But she puts so much effort into it. People have asked me over the years back, Bob McDermott, Billy Austin said, hey, you should get into training.
Yeah.
So,
and how'd you just on the department at Cicero you were doing it? Or?
So, yeah, very informally.
Okay.
Cicero started an academy for a little bit. It ran itself into the ground very quickly by
That was your thing for a little bit?
No. I was just an instructor. A couple of idiots ran it and tried to do it for the wrong reasons, and so it all blew up within a year and went to shit. But then
Is that when you went to Romeoville?
yeah, so then Billy Austin, who was with us, was out there, and he says, you should come out here. And I really didn't want to, and I tried it, and it's just...
Were you teaching truck ops and stuff like that out there?
I do now.
Yeah.
When you start there, you start just some basic stuff, working with the kids, and then... but it's really grown for me. I'm kind of like middle management there. I get to run a bunch of programs.
Yeah.
They haven't figured out that I'm a real idiot yet, so I got them buffaloed pretty good.
Every time you think you're an idiot, there's like 4 or 5 more guys. They're I'm at least as smart as that guy. So it's not. We're still all firemen.
Well, I like to try to hang out with really stupid people so I look better.
Oh yeah, it brings it. Yeah, it's kind. Yeah.
Right.
No, I get it. I get it.
What's like your go-to golden training that you like, your gold standard training that you think everybody should have truck wise? Like, what's your go-to, like your...
How specific you want me to get? Tool work, for sure.
Tool work?
Yeah. We see it, and God bless these young kids. There's this, we all, you got young kids around you guys, and we can bash the hell out of them, that they come on, they don't know anything. But look at the world they grew up in. They don't have to. So, we've made a lot of changes in the teaching world about that. But for truck work, it's ladder work. I think the fire service as a whole, unless you're in Boston or San Francisco or someplace that really prides themselves, I don't think any of us are as good at ladder work as we think we are. So, and then we always we throw them, we know what we're doing, but then I don't think we are. So you work with them enough, we don't throw them enough, that and the tool work stuff.
You guys teach it more of the why are we throwing that ladder, why are we throwing it here, as opposed to just the mechanics of the ladder?
I think we do a mix of both. I'm blessed. I get to be around Kevin Sears, one of the great, teachers / truck people, Alex Griff. These are fantastic people. And I think you got to have both of those things because I think we never really focused on the why in the past, but this generation does. They want to know why. And they're right to do it. I think that's a good way to learn it.
Yeah.
So your gold standard is just going back to basic stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Building that foundation.
You have to, because it's all the experience level. Now you get some people with more experience. Now let's stretch the envelope. Corey, you and I were talking, off mic. What are those little tricks of the trade that you want people to know? Right. A trick that someone showed me and that I didn't share with anybody because I wanted to think I was the only one who knew it, is just what's the floor made of? Just little stuff like that. Every fire I go into, we talk about search, left-handed, right-handed, whatever, count your turns, all that stuff. But I'm a guy, I stick my face on the floor. And even in the worst fire in the universe, you can, with a good light, you know what you're on, right? You stick your face on the floor. I'm on hardwood here. All right, now I'm on carpeting. All right, so I like to know, all right, what's this? What room should this be? Well, if there's tile, this is probably a bathroom or a foyer or whatever's in your worlds, right?
Right.
So just those little things, and that's like the advanced part you get. But all training, the best training is hands-on. That's what makes them remember it, and make it as close to realistic as you can. Give them a reason why they're doing it.
Right. So the old black auto mask and I mean, especially, and like, I've talked a lot of shit about the Cleveland drill. So like that putting your face to the ground thing, like hopefully you're keeping yourself out of that situation. The old pulling yourself out of a whole thing.
Yeah.
That was something I used to just fire off because, and not that we've definitely come a long way, and I'm really happy with where things are going with training by my department. But like, it used to drive me nuts because it's kind of like going to a fire. Like, I'm one of those guys where when we go to a fire, like, I want to do something. I want to go in. I want to go somewhere. I want to do something at a fire, or I want to go home. I don't want to stand on the lawn. I'm not looking for the news to like snap a cool picture of me. And like, if I go somewhere, I want to do something. It's the same with training. Like, I either want to train or I don't want to do it at all, because it's like you said, it's got to be realistic. It's got to be pertinent what's going on. That's what's going to stick in guys' minds at 3, like you said, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
When you're, half asleep and not knowing what's going on, and you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember, when we did the Cleveland drill for the 5th time this week, we tried it with a pike pole and that was fun, and then he jammed his thumb and that idiot, but again, when it's just constant, like the same nonsense all the time, it doesn't really
Well, look at 32 years later, Brian's still talking about the teachable moments that were laid out in front of him in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped at a fire, took 5 seconds to said, don't go, like, let's take a look at this first.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll go.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'd like to see officers do more of, is in those moments, freeze the time, take 5 seconds out of your day, point something out, and then move on. Well, you can't do that. You can't spend 10 minutes. Oh, let's take a look at the smoke and see how it blows. We lose the building, but that's what makes it memorable for me. And it's, again, Ray showed it to me, and I'm just kicking it down the line.
You got good senior guys there that kind of take these new guys under their wing as well.
Yeah, I just absolutely love our department. We got, I could tell you, of course, that I'm on gold shift, and without doubt, it's the greatest. Everybody knows that, right?
It's a gold standard.
You never see, nobody ever says, let's see the red standard, right? Nobody ever says that. There's no red medals in the Olympics, right? Everyone wants gold. So that's clearly we're the best. But
red shift is a jag-off shift.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. You know it.
He didn't even want to talk about it.
Mm-mm. No, everybody knows that's every department.
Nobody likes lazy fucks.
Yeah, they're terrible.
The red shift are lazy fucks.
Yeah, they're the worst.
The black shift are the fucking other crybabies, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they're all pigs. We have to clean up after both of them.
Right.
So, no, I across the board, we've just got some really. I really love where we are, where we've gotten to. The sharing of information has gotten so much better. We've broken the crust off a lot of those. I gave you the history. When I started, again, 6-8 guys out of 20, 25 on a shift doing any real work. Now it's just it's so much the opposite. If you don't go and get something done, there's just nothing to do, because these kids are from across the board, right. These guys are just running and getting everything done. And you're like, wait, hold on. Damn it. I order you not to do that so I can do that.
What do you think caused that change in your department there to go from this only 6 guys going in out of 25 to now complete opposite? Like, this episode of Chicago's Bravest Stories is brought to you by Sports and Ortho Physical Therapy. So, Steve, I understand you have a sports and ortho memory that you'd like to share.
I do. Just recently, I actually suffered an injury. It was a chronic injury from firefighting and paramedicing. I tore my shoulder and separated my AC joint right at the beginning of the pandemic.
How do you feel right now?
I feel great.
Can you lift your hands over your shoulder?
I can do all of that. But what was crazy was at the time, they weren't doing shoulder surgeries. So I did not know what I was going to do until I was presented with the option of going to sports and ortho physical therapy.
So you theoretically could have been out for a long time.
I could have been out for a very long time, and I was told that the shoulder surgery I was presented with was going to keep me out a very long time as well.
So you would have automatically lost your spot.
Yes.
And potentially be out for a long time. There'd be a loss of income as well for like overtime and what have you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what kind of things did Dahlia have you do?
So Dahlia set me up with one of her therapists, Claire from England, and Claire beat me up for 3 months straight.
Well, you had it coming, Steve.
I did, but we did all kinds of stretches. I'll tell you what, I've had other injuries where I've went to other facilities outside of the job that I'm currently at, and they did not do the hands-on manipulation, the cupping, the stretching, the massages, the massage machine they were using on me, all sorts of stuff. Needling, Claire did some needling on me, and I'll tell you what, that needling, it was like, I can't explain it to you, but it definitely, like, I could instantly feel, it was instant gratification when she was doing the needling on me.
So how long did it take to get you back?
So I did 3 sessions a week for approximately 3 months, a little under 3 months, and I didn't need to have surgery. I rehabbed that shoulder back, and it was great. And on top of all of it, I had a thing going on at home where I couldn't be exposed to the virus or multiple people because of the virus, and Dahlia had gone out of her way to schedule me so that I would not have those experiences, and I could do a lot of the rehab by myself with Claire. And Dahlia went above and beyond to accommodate me like she does, and she goes above and beyond for all of her clients. And I'm truly grateful to her and Sports North for physical therapy.
Well, there you have it. Living testimony by our own Chicago's Bravest Story, Steve. Sports and Ortho, you can look them up on sportsandortho.net.
I mean, they got a location everywhere, so.
For all you up north, Edison Park for sure, Mount Greenwood for you south.
Brand new Oak Lawn, I believe.
So sportsandortho.net.
Geez, that's a great question. I haven't thought of it. I would have to say that it was, the dinosaurs going away, going out to pasture, and then it was a grassroots thing because not slamming any of the management in the past, but it was never, it was never a priority. Training's a tough thing for any of our departments, right? I mean, how much training do you have to do on Elmwood? I'm guessing.
To get on?
No. Just like on a daily, like on a yearly basis.
Ooh,
you guys do ITRs every day?
ITRs?
Your training, like you log your training?
Oh yeah. No, we're probably good for at least an hour a day of real training.
Yeah.
Like not like nonsense like pistol whip or
some bloodborne pathogens or some.
Yeah, right. Like we always try and like do a good hour, and if not a good like actual physical drill, like we'll try and do like a tabletop and kind of like put people in some again, it's still a tabletop, but like try and put people in some shaky situations that they're just not like comfortable with. Like, oh, like I know you're always the engineer this day and you're always over here, but you know what, this guy called in and you're acting.
Now he got shot. Now what do you do?
Yeah, he's dead. And but but again, like at a place like me, we're not the city, we're not a bigger department. Like one guy takes off or two guys take off, and like you've got a guy who was maybe on a back step in one situation. The next day he could be a company officer just because of how small we are.
Sure, but that's the reality. They tell me, and I don't quote me on this, but I want to say that the standards are 240 hours a year for a firefighter.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
So if you're doing that,
which isn't a lot, if that's the standard, if you're thinking about throughout a year.
Yeah. But I think it's actually harder on bigger departments because with Kelly's and vacations and everything's company based.
Well, I think in the city, everybody winds up, if you're not a 40-hour employee, if you're a platoon employee, I think you're working right around 86, 90 days a year.
Right. So now you're trying to put that in.
Yeah.
And so either good management or bad will both say the same thing. There's just not enough hours in the day to get everything done. And when you factor in who's off, who's not, plus you got whatever inspections, or you got people who still want to eat, you got shopping, and by the way, there's calls to go on.
Yeah.
So
every once in a while someone calls 911.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Jesus, great.
I never
get
do
that towel.
So let the record show, it was not me who spilled that drink.
No, this is kind of it's becoming a thing. lately.
I'm surprised I didn't break a cup as I did this time.
Right.
Yeah. So,
the only reason I was asking, because, you know,
Sure.
you're talking about, and I understand some of the dinosaurs have to leave before you can move that, but I was doing training in the city one time, and I talked to this guy who is a genius when it comes to training, and I wanted to pick his ear, and I'm like, how do you overcome this problem of training? And he's like, well, Vince, he's like, the problem is you have these dinosaurs. And I'm like, well, they're eventually gonna, you know, by attrition, they're gonna lose. And he goes, the problem, Vince, is that dinosaurs lay eggs.
absolutely, sir.
And
That's one of my favorite sayings.
That kind of
I
like blew my
know,
mind.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, fuck, you are 100% right. Now where do we go?
Right.
You know?
So and I think that's the way we had success was a grassroots. It was small groups. It was, you know, I can mention some guys who I've been with for a long time. Myself, Paulie Lightek, he's a lieutenant on the other truck in town. Josh Hill's now on our shift, and you get little groups like that. And so you basically get with people who are like-minded, and even if it's 2 or 3 of you, and then you start a movement. And then you find somebody's going to join that movement, you know, especially some of the mantras. Well, make it realistic, make it fun, and make it short. Firefighters nobody wants to go and do something for 4 hours. And, you know, we're going to throw ladders for 8 hours. Oh, okay, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so make them short, make them to the point. Research, pick brains of the brilliant people. Like I said, I mentioned Kevin Sears. He's a guy I lean on. Griff. These type of guys who have these good, you know, I'm stupid, but these people are smart. So let's steal their ideas and then say I invented it.
Yeah.
Right? And so you start the movement that way, and then we've had success with it growing. And then as the dinosaurs are leaving, the people who don't want to do it are the less and less, and they become the outcasts. And, you know, Maslow had something to that stuff he was saying. You know, people want to be inclusive in a group. Mm-hmm. And so how do you win over those people? Well, all right, so now you've got the numbers. This is how we did it. We had the numbers. So now some of the great ones on there, I was going to mention Dennis Sean Ahern's name, but I won't. He's a guy who is a brilliant fireman, but he's a crusty, crabby MFer. But we've managed to get him involved. Why? Because he's brilliant, and you just go up and tell him, listen, you're brilliant. These kids need you. Do you mind sharing something? And play on their ego. And get them involved. Again, keep it short. And then even the garbage guys, you know, let's face it. Don't you think you can learn something from a guy who's been on the job 30 years, even if he's a piece of shit? Yeah. You know, at the very least, that person has probably learned how to get out of work.
Right.
Well, there's a lesson there to be learned.
Absolutely. I mean,
There's always something you can learn.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their thing, I think, and there's a fine line, I think, between I knew there were two like pretty well respected captains by me on different shifts. They were running their individual shifts, and the one guy, he was a big he was more of he was definitely like a people like a fireman sort of guy, where he was a fun guy to hang out with, but at the same time he wanted everyone included, and he was very big about like giving people jobs or giving people's roles on the fire ground that like were playing to their advantage. Like he would, you know, he'd take a bigger guy and throw him on the roof, or give him a tool, or he'd take the littler guy and throw him in a group and have him do a search. Like he was very big on like giving you know, like again, like
playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's another captain that he runs things very militarily, and in his mind, if, you know, I'm a fireman, this guy who just started a year ago, he's a fireman, and this guy who's got 30 years on, he's a fireman. I can plug that guy because he's a fireman. I'm expecting the same thing out of any one of these guys as, you know, as any one of the other ones, you know, whether he's a great guy, a bad guy, whatever. Like he was very fair when he assigned those things. You know, would he give a guy that he liked a lot that was a fireman a company officer role? Absolutely not, because he was not a company officer. He was very specific about like what was expected of them, and everyone was expected to do at least this much, or expected to accomplish everything that was inside their role. And to be fair, both these guys, like I like both of these guys' style. Like, to be fair, like you really should, you know, if you're a fireman, like you should be. Well,
there's something to be said for both both styles. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I like both those styles because, again, like to be fair to any of them, like just because you're a little fat guy, like you should still be able to climb a ladder like the big tall guy and whatever.
Right.
Like you know,
With your tools.
right, with your tools. And now I go,
Yeah.
like, but I'm fat. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even. I was going through.
No,
them,
I love
taking
what
over
you
here.
said there. The number one thing I love that you said was that give them something they can be successful at.
Right.
You want them to build on something. Don't set them up for failure.
Right.
You know, let's not run some drill that they're not going to succeed at.
Yeah.
Because failure, and that's we can say this new generation needs to win all their awards. But the fact is, I don't care if you're old or young. You want to look good and succeed at what you're doing. We're all in this business. Historically, we're all alphas.
Mm-hmm.
So add into that drill part, just like say, make it something that's accomplishable, and then when it's done, let them know that they did well, and that's how you win them over. That's how we had success with it anyway.
Well, let's take you back then to the day before your anniversary, was it?
My wife's
Or your wife's birthday.
Yes.
Your wife's birthday. So February 19th,
Yes, sir.
you're off shift. The fire department is in the hands of somebody else.
Right, and shockingly, they still put those fires out, which I haven't figured out how they're doing it when I'm not there.
And
I'm joking, of course.
Even on the jag-off shift.
Yeah, even Red puts them out, which is weird.
Who knew? Who knew?
you were running errands, is what the news is stating that you were out doing, and you're driving past. Have you ever drank at Waterworks?
I have. I've had a couple of beers there
Yeah.
over the years. I have not been in there very often, but we have frequented a decent amount there. Pizza is really good.
Really?
So, and we only live about 6 blocks away. So,
Okay. So you're running errands. You pass by, and do you just see the smoke in your car, like coming from this building?
yeah, it's So I'll give you a little.
What time of day was this?
10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And it's on Ogden Avenue in Lyons. This is a busy street, Ogden, right? Route 66. And so it's a 4-laner. It's 10 in the morning. I come around the corner. I only want to tell you this because I've been learned how much I've screwed this all up. So officially what I was doing, and this is the truth, is my Tahoe, that Corey was very envious of, which is not as nice as it looks. Anyway, so my Tahoe was giving me trouble, so I dropped it off at Jack Phelan Chevy to get work done, and I just picked up a loaner. So I was coming back, and I was going to go to Target to go grocery shopping. So I'm coming down Ogden. I turn the corner. I'm only about.
I was just gonna say you weren't like on your way to do anything questionable, right? Like that you've had to modify.
No,
since this
not at all. This
Okay.
is a completely true story, and this is where I'm getting.
I've got this massage place down the street.
Right. Yeah. This is where I'm learning all my mistakes. I'm finding out. So I'm driving. I come around the corner and I see the smoke, and it was so there was so much of it, and I'm only about a block away. And I keep going, and admittedly, I'm in a little disbelief. Like, is this really what's going on? Is this a dryer vent or something? That's putting out black smoke for some reason because it's wicked cold. I'm like, I can't, you got to process that. And I get closer, and now the smoke is there. I see the fire shooting from the second floor.
And you don't see anybody else out.
No, and that's what threw me is I'm driving, and here's this building clearly on fire, a lot of it, and nobody's doing anything. I felt like I was in a movie set. I felt like, there were cars still driving. I pull over on the right. I left room for the truck, and I parked. I knew they were coming at some point. I hope so. Anyway, right? The cavalry's got to be coming. The engine, they'll
Just say you parked right in front of the hydrant when you moved your car.
Absolutely. Damn! I should have thought of that.
Oh, that would have been a good
come
one.
on.
So, so I pull over, and cars are driving by. I remember there was a guy walking down the street, and I'm like, am I the only one seeing this?
Yeah.
This is what is happening here. And I was in such disbelief. So I run across, and I bang on the front door of the bar, and it's all darkened windows, and a woman opens up. She's opened the place up. She opens the door, and there's fire shooting out of the window directly over her head. She opens the front door. She says to me, she says, "Hey, we're not open yet." And I point up. I'm 3 feet from her. I point up. I go, "Your building's on fire." And she looks up, and she just starts screaming. And she runs back into the bar. So I follow her in. And
No, not this way.
Yeah. And she runs back in, and she's kind of, in panic mode. I got a good view of what citizens are like when these things happen. And she had never known. So now there's another woman in the bar and another guy in the bar. And again, I think they're workers. They're not drinking at 10 in the morning. I'm assuming they're not, but
Could be firemen.
whatever, right? They probably were just off the job.
Right.
So they all start screaming and yelling, "Oh, we're going to die. And what's happening? Oh my God, we'll never get out of here." And I'm yelling at them, "How do I get to the second floor?" And it's not working. So I just yell out, "Hey," and they all stop and they look at me, and I says, "I'm a fireman. Your building's on fire, but you're all going to be fine. How do I get up to the second floor?" And the one woman shrugs her shoulders. The one guy points to the right, and the other lady points to the left. And I'm like, all right,
Cool.
let's try this a different way. I says, if you had to go to the second floor, how would you get there? And the one lady says, the stairs. And I said, good.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay.
I said, where are these stairs you speak of? And she says, follow me. And she did such a great job at that point. So we run out the Delta side and out into the parking lot, and the door, now there's a side door that goes up into an interior
I haven't
staircase.
seen it. So it's a taxpayer? Is that what this
Yeah.
is? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I got video of it. I should have showed you.
Yeah?
Yeah. So she enters the side door, and she goes up the stairs ahead of me, a little narrow staircase going up, heading toward the Alpha side. And why she got ahead of me, I don't know. I dropped the ball on that one. And
you're a lieutenant. So.
right, somebody's supposed to go first. So thank you, Corey. So she opens the door at the top of the stairs. Black smoke pours out. She screams and she runs down the stairs. So I says, all right. So now that whole flow path thing, it all kicked in really nice because it created like this little wind tunnel behind my back.
Oh no!
And it could it was good because it cleared there was like a 2.5 foot, 3 foot high little tunnel pocket of air.
Nice. Okay.
So I could kind of see. So I could see a hallway straight ahead. Yeah. And I could hear a guy inside, kind of coughing and whatnot. And he was saying some stuff. So I'm yelling, "You in there?" And he said, "Yeah," and he's yelling. He's saying stuff like, I hear a guy straight ahead of me saying something like, "Where am I? What's going on?" Blah blah blah. And so I just hit my knees and I crawl and I come across and I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast, but he's the one guy I don't want to listen. Then I crawl across just so here's what firemen would deal, right? So I got a little visibility and I see feet. I see old man spindly legs and they're just like shuffling in like place. And he had on t-shirt and an underwear and it didn't fit very well because those things were sticking out.
Yeah.
And that's when I get a face full of right away. I'm like a foot from this. I'm like, great. And
you reach up like a doorbell. You're like, no, down here.
So and it wasn't far. It was like 8 feet from the door. It was an easy crawl. And so I just stood up, grabbed him, and I'm like, let's go, buddy. And took him to the staircase. And so I get to the stairs and I start wrestling down the stairs.
Those old guys love their whitey tighties, man.
Honest guys, except they were blue though, but otherwise they weren't very tight. And so I wrestled down the stairs a little bit, and I hand him off to the lady, and I'm talking to him the whole time, like who else is upstairs, anyone else up there, blah blah blah. And he's saying some nonsensical stuff that's not really making sense. I don't know if it was the smoke that got to him.
Was this guy walking down the hall when you showed up?
When I found him, he was in the kitchen and he was just like shuffling his feet, but he was moving
standing up.
He was like, standing up.
Oh, okay.
And
so he's taking in smoke.
Yeah, I mean, tough old bird because I wasn't liking any of this. And so I get him out, and as we get to the bottom of the stairs, he yells out, "Glenn!" And I was like, "All right, Glenn's up there." He's like, "I don't know." Well, here's this. That was his name. I found out later on. He yelled his own name. I'm like, all right, well, Glenn's up there. So I hand him off.
Brian.
Right? I hand him off to the lady, and I just put him in a bar because it's warm there because it's like 10 degrees out. So I run back upstairs. And at this point now, I remember, we talked about this earlier, Corey, the floor, looking at the floor. And at this point now, everything had kind of leveled out. And I could see the floor, but there was only about a foot of off the floor was the smoke. And it was thick and gooey. So I just... I hooked my foot on the top stair, and I laid on my belly, and I stuck in there, and I started yelling for Glenn. And on the third yell, I hear somebody off to the right. So I hear, "Yeah!" And I says, "You got to get out of here." And he says, "I can't." And I says, "Shit," because I don't want to be. I'll tell anybody who listens. I was pretty scared.
It's pucker factor here, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I mean, the news said it. He did this without any regard for his own life.
And you don't hear any sirens at this point?
No. I have to check on this. Gordy Nord, the great chief of Lions, he's such a great guy. I want to check with him and find out. And he'll be listening to this. He listens to you guys all the time.
Come on.
Yeah. Because I told him I'd be on. He's like, I know that guy. And I want to find out because I'm pretty sure the lady in the bar, when I was in the bar, I told the one woman, I said, "I need you to call the fire department." And I'm pretty sure, I feel like that was the first. I think that was the first call. I did grab a bottle of booze, but don't tell nobody.
I was thinking,
that was the first call when this thing is already raging.
I think so because the timeline was as I got out with the second guy is when the first engine pulled up. So and now as I'm on the stairs and I realize I'm like, all right, I gotta go get this guy. And
So how many feet would you say it was from? Because you hooked the staircase so that you could keep track of it.
Yeah, I
so
didn't
you could make your way. So now you have to make the decision to go in and lose your place here.
Yeah.
Where you're hooked. So how many feet would you say you're going to have to like go into no man's land?
Well, so I don't know. I hear the voice, and I know he's not far, but I know he's not close. And, and that's from the training. And so the old lady's on the stairs by me. She's, at the bottom of the stairs, and I really screwed this up. I had told myself 1,000 times, what would I do if I came across a fire on my day off, right? We've all done it. Probably. Anybody good at this job, I think, does that. And I told myself I'd grab a tool out of my truck and I'd grab a flashlight. Well, I didn't fucking grab any of that stuff. I just ran. Right. The only smart thing I did is my wife had bought me recently this nice winter parka, that one I'm wearing today. That's getting a lot more press than I'm getting. and I took it off outside. I says, well, if I get this messed up, she's really going to kick my ass. Yeah. So I hung it on a fence, and that's when I ran in. So I yelled on the lady. I said, you got a flashlight? And she says, I don't know. I'll go look. She runs into the bar. I'm like, oh, that ain't going to work. So but she did me a solid. She says, you got to go hard right for him, hard right. And as you enter the door swings to the left. But you have to enter this apartment to then find the guy to get into the next apartment.
Jesus.
It's clearly not a regular setup. So I look to my right, and I one of my tricks is I like to be face on the floor and look at the layout of the building, right? Even if it's only a foot off, I can see trim work. That's a doorway. There's an archway. That's a little trick of the trade. Well, there was nothing there. But when she told me that, so I felt up into the smoke, and I felt the doorknob. And as I grabbed the doorknob and pulled, it opened toward me, which means I had to enter the apartment more to get around this door. When you open it, it now blocks your exit. And I did not care for that situation one bit. No. So I just put my face on the floor and started crawling, and it wasn't a far crawl. And again, I found the exact same situation. I saw feet. They were shuffling. I saw old man spindly legs, T-shirt, and not tight underwear.
Yeah.
And it was the same, guys. And I remember, I think I even said out loud, how come nobody wears pants around here? The hell is going on? And turns out he was sleeping. So, but anyway, I found out later. So I just,
I'll tell you, slave to a good punchline, Brian. I really appreciate that much.
Thanks. He, and I could follow his coughing, and that's what got me to him. And again, it didn't seem far, but I remember I fell back on the training, right? I remember face on the floor. I had left at the archway, at the doorway was hardwood. I crossed the threshold onto linoleum. And I remember, so I found him, I remember just saying, all right, hardwood threshold, linoleum threshold, hardwood back. And that was my mantra.
Nice. Yeah.
So he was coughing, and I'm yelling at him, we got to go. And he's saying, I can't breathe. And I said, we got to go. He says, we can't breathe. I says, get down. He says, I can't. So I just reached up in the smoke, grabbed his T-shirt, and yanked him to the floor.
Yeah.
And I said, we got to go. And he says, I can't. And I says, he was, thank God, not a big guy. So I just kind of one-armed him and just kept the face on the floor. And I learned that we highly undervalue air packs. I'm thinking of carrying one of those around from now on.
But.
And so we get to the door. We crawl back through the doorway they opened. I had to go a little farther past, then shut that to clear the exit. And I stood him up, and we got to the stairs. I stood him up on the stairs, and I started walking him down. And this is when he gets in an argument with me. He says, well, I'm not going down there. He says, I ain't got no pants on. And I says, well, I got pants for you in the bar. Come on. He says, there ain't no fucking pants in the bar. And I says, well, we're not fucking staying here. Right. And I just kind of manhandled him down the stairs.
No pants here.
And that was it. And as I got him out the side door, that's when Lions had their first engine pulling out.
Any heat when you were in there? Or just all smoke?
All smoke. Yeah. If there was heat, I don't remember feeling it. I know I looked when I found the first guy, I looked to the right, and I could see the room going real good to my right. And so I just made a note of that. But no, just.
Well, at least we know that there's a generation out there that doesn't understand getting to the floor.
That I was saying that message is not getting across to a certain age group for sure. So, but those guys are tough old birds because I don't know how they were standing because I didn't like it where I was, and they were just
apparently stand and shuffle your feet was the mantra back.
Yeah,
back
yeah. So, and we all know there's that law in Illinois. I don't know if the other states have it that when you're in a fire, you need to take most of your clothes off because they followed that.
Right? It's down the undershirt and the underwear. Right. That's the move.
Quickly grab your underwear and your shirt.
Yeah. So
and then shuffle stand there and shuffle your feet.
To be fair, if I didn't have kids in the house,
Sure.
I think that'd be my move once a day.
Really?
So, I mean, why not?
I talked to my wife about it. I'm like, listen, as we age, can we still get dressed in the morning? Can we put some clothes on, just in case? For God's sakes, let's keep our dignity.
Yeah, put on the show, okay? Put on the show, because clearly I'm going to deteriorate before you will.
Yeah.
You know, but
so
So were those, in conclusion, were those guys okay?
Yeah.
Ultimately?
So they both got transported. One to McNeil, one to Loyola. The second guy I grabbed ended up calling me the next day.
Really?
Yeah, and it turns out we have a mutual friend who shared my number, and it was really good to hear from him. He was very emotional and crying, and thanks for that. And I'm like, hey, it's no big deal. How are you? And what are you doing now? Where are you staying? Are you okay? Can I get you anything? And he was just incredibly grateful, and and credit to those guys because again they hung on. And
Any of those Lions guys recognize you?
yeah, so
They did?
Fine. I'll embarrass myself
Do it.
and a deep apology to the Lions gentlemen.
So you took the line, you went up, you
No.
went back up there.
No. So like I say, I've been working in Romeoville, so I get to be blessed and meet people from all over the world and the country, right? And I've trained been involved with some of the Lions gentlemen. And as they pulled up, like the engineer, Larry, I remember his name now. So but at the time I didn't. So they pull up, and it's him. There's three of them on there. And so he sees me. He says, hey, Brian, thank God you're here. How you doing? And I'm like, I couldn't remember his guy. I'm terrible at names.
Hey, you.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, champ.
So there was three on the engine,
Three on the engine. I saw
and one of them was the engineer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So so he starts stretching the line. So I help him make the hook up to the hydrant. And
Now, Lions, are they?
they're like a part-time, yeah.
But are they always staffed?
Yeah, I believe they always are.
Okay. So it wasn't because they weren't there. Why
No, they just didn't get the call.
Yeah. Huh.
And that was, again, from like the beginning of the story. Just kind of disbelief. Like I felt like I was running into a movie set, and at some point somebody yelled, "Cut! Get that idiot out of here!"
Yeah.
And
we got you. You're retired now.
It was just so obvious. But so he said hi. I remember I think it was the officer got off. He said, "Hey, Bri, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, superstar or whatever." And I couldn't remember their names from Adam. And at that point, Matt Buckley pulled up. He's the chief of Riverside. He was the first chief on the scene. It seemed like a couple of minutes went by or whatever, seconds. And Gordy Nord, the chief of Lions, showed up. Riverside truck showed up. And they went to work. They deck gunned it at first. They stretched the line. They headed up the stairs. And once they started knocking it, I just grabbed up the chiefs and I says, "All right, you guys don't need me here.
Before they duck under, did they ask you nobody else in there?
Yeah. Like I remember the engineer came over. He said, "What's up?" And I says, I didn't tell him what I did. I'm like, "You got fire here. Here's how you get to it." Because I thought they were going to pull a line, but they ended up gunning it, which I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I knew what we would do. And I kind of gave him the layout, and I said, "They go, anybody else in there? Anybody in there?" I goes, "No, everybody's out of the second floor." And when those chiefs showed up, I gave them a quick briefing of what was going on, and I says, "All right, I gotta go. I gotta go grocery shopping. I'll see you later." And I left. And this is where I'm learning I screwed up. So I go home. I go grocery shopping.
They knew your name.
Well, I go to the Target. I go grocery shopping, and I'm at the Target first off, and this is kind of the first time it hits me. Like the adrenaline was coming down, and I had to call my brother because he's on a job, and I'm like, "Hey, I just got to tell somebody because I'm kind of hands are shaking a little bit, the adrenaline's wearing off." And anyway, I'm in the Target, and I catch myself I'm in the frozen fruit section. I catch my reflection. I got black goo coming out my nose, and my pants are all filthy, and I'm like, shit, and I smell. And I was like, so people are looking at me, and I wonder, and I'm like, "Hi, sorry, I don't usually dress like this." And
I was at a barbecue.
Right.
yeah. So I go home, and about that was like 10:30 in the morning. Like 1 o'clock, Gordy Nord from Lions calls me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to need a narrative on this thing, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, he goes, "Can you come back to the scene? I got to talk."
From you?
Yeah.
You got.
Well, he's setting them up.
Yeah, he is.
He's setting them up.
He says, he goes, "Can you come back to the scene?" And I was like, naturally, when a chief says come back, I'm like, "Well, I'm in trouble. What the hell did I do?" And I pull up, and he's got the media waiting.
They're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's when that's when that interview happened, and that's when the coat became famous because, yeah, I mean, now you guys are younger. Well, not you, Ben. I found out you're almost old as I am. For God's sakes,
Maybe older.
We gotta keep that to ourselves. It's getting out there.
Are you familiar with the Star Wars movie, when they were in Hoth with the frozen tundra of Hoth?
What is that?
Is that where he cuts the thing open and he goes
cuts
inside?
a taunt. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a nerd. I know he cuts open a taunt.
That's
to
Empire
save
Strikes
Luke.
Back, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, remember the outfits they were wearing with the big coats with the big fur around them?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I got this guy, Jason. He's a Myrtle Beach captain I met at the this joint.
Yeah.
And he's sending me, I'm getting memes. Is this that coat you're wearing? Is that standard issue in Cicero? And I got guys who want to know why was I wearing my wife's coat at the fire? And they want to know what that fur is, that real coyote. And
Don't worry, if you're listening, we will take a picture of the coat. That'll be on our Facebook for you guys to send comments.
The best part is these are like all the PC ones you're throwing out too.
Yeah,
well, the ones that, like,
yeah, there were some other
behind them.
There were some other ones. Yeah. So, and that's where I learned. Gordy says, and God bless Gordy. If you need a hype man in the fire service, get this guy. This guy is just, oh man, he's just, So I'm getting interviewed. I'm like, Gordy, I don't know what to say. I never, I don't do this very often. And truthfully, let's face it, we're uncomfortable. This is not why we do the job, right? We don't do this for the accolades. And so the guys. So I'm like, he's like, just be matter of fact. So I said my part, and Gordy's next to me. He did this, and he did that, and he's a hero, and these people would have died. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm ready to run through a wall for myself right now. Who is this guy you speak of?
That sounds like a great guy. Right? Holy shit.
And, but I learned that I shouldn't have downplayed the interview. In fact, I felt like I looked really angry in it. Guys are like, you really screwed that up. I learned afterwards. And you guys are obviously media giants.
Oh,
I'm assuming you can help me with this. I should have said that I was at Jack Phelan Chevy with my Tahoe, getting it fixed because heroes drive Tahoes.
Right.
And then I found out apparently they're supposed to then buy me a Tahoe for free.
Right.
Yes.
I wish I could afford the payment on this thing. Whatever, just all in a day's work is what
and then
we could have got Target for you.
That's what they tell me. I'm hero shop at Target, blah blah blah. Shop at Target. And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. Can I get this? Can I get a do over?
Plus the bar, we could have worked out something where you drink for free for the rest of your life at that bar.
So I'm learning. So if this happens again, I think I'll be much more dialed in.
Well, we're gonna have to put you under contract here so that we'll handle it from now.
All right, I appreciate it. I could use a good PR person, apparently.
Yeah.
So
Vince is like an agent, pretty much. He might as well be an agent.
All right. I'm assuming 5% is standard fee?
It's standard fee. That's what you get.
If you were in
that's what Vince says. You get 5%.
If you were in Germany, you would have got 95.
Oh, all right. All right, I'll have to get to Germany then. So.
Well, now would that be the biggest save that you've had in your career, but you're having this big save while you're not working as a fireman?
So I was misquoted in the article because some great, God bless the fire service, Scott Cavanale and Brian McMillan, Downers guy and a Shanahan guy, the next day had T-shirts printed up with my face on the front from that interview, and on the back,
my God.
On the back they have a quote: "While I've saved plenty of people." Lieutenant Brian Kulaga. Well, when I was interviewed, and I have the tape of the interview, the guy asked me, have you ever done this before? And I said, I've been blessed. I said, on the job, I've made a couple. I've had this opportunity on the job. I said, but never off duty. And that's the truth. Apparently he re-quoted it that said, I've saved plenty of people.
Right. Well, and,
So, but...
you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, no. Again, like I told you, I had it in my head 1,000 times first time, and let's be honest, gentlemen, I got lucky on a twofold basis. First off, you guys would have done the exact same thing. So many firefighters would have done the exact same thing. It was my day, and lucky in two parts. One, everything went in my favor. I mean, just think, the wind could have shifted and everything went south. Those two gentlemen couldn't have been where they were. They could farther in, and I can't find them. Something on my clothes gets hung up. Now I'm screwed. Right. All that stuff.
Anything could happen. Like for everything to work out the way it did. I mean, first of all, think about what are the odds that some guy with this many years of service who's like actually familiar and actually has the balls to go in to do that just happens to be driving by at that time, because obviously nobody else had any idea. By the time the people down in the bar would have figured it out, the building was coming down on their head.
Yeah, it was very strange. I'll give you something that it's weird for our mindset, right? Civilians have asked me about it, and God bless, I've been blessed. I reached out to so much. My phone, that piece hit the news, and my phone blew up for like 2-3 days. It was crazy. But it's so weird to me. You guys, here, you've done the same thing. You run in and you clear the first floor, and then you're like, all right, well, there's people upstairs. It's a taxpayer. They're 10 o'clock in the morning. They're probably home. Civilians, one of the number one questions I get is, well, how'd you even think that there were people upstairs? Or how'd you know? I'm like, that's just how we think. It's pretty normal. And so it's a pretty nice window into their mindset versus our mindset.
And this probably was the first time that you got to see what it's like for the civilians prior to you showing up, their mindset and how their brains are working before you get there. Because by the time you get there, it's a different story, and you don't even get to see that because you're doing work or you're doing other things, and it's already so much time has passed before that phone call is even made.
Yeah. That wonderful woman in the first floor, when I chased her into the bar, one of the things she yelled out is, she was getting the oven warmed up in the first floor kitchen to make the pizzas and whatever. It's because I started the oven. That's what did it. And I'm like, what? No.
Wait, you didn't start the oven, did you?
You know? And I'm like, wait, what? No. And, you know, I'm like, you have to talk them off the ledge. So,
I'll tell you what, I mean, so I'm dumb. And super dumb.
Well, right.
And
I
clearly,
got that.
Right. And like I always forget how willing people are to answer my questions wearing my getup at work.
Absolutely.
And did you have any, were people like, dude, don't talk to me, man? Like, were they like kind of apprehensive about talking to you? Or do you feel like your presence kind of like people answered your questions? They weren't at all difficult.
No, I felt like that's why I felt like I had to open up that when I yelled, hey, and they all froze and looked at me. I wanted to make sure I let them know who I was. And I think that made a difference, because I think at that point they were just kind of spinning like tops. And I was not getting any information whatsoever. So
there was something else that you wanted to talk about, and we'll let you, however you want to go about it, take your time and, let us know the story and tell us all about it.
All right. What I did want to touch on is I mentioned that I got family in the fire service, and my brother Mark is on the job with me, and but my niece Nicole was on the job, and she was on the job in Hinsdale, FD. Nicole is and was one of the best people on the planet. For anybody listening who doesn't know, Nicole was on Hinsdale, and right around her first year, as she was making her probation, she committed suicide. So, Nicole, we were close. She was my niece, and she's on my wife's side of the family. And God bless my wife's side of the family. They are incredibly close. They do a ton of stuff together. I would, like my kids and Nicole, I wouldn't even say, they probably didn't even seem like cousins. They were more like brother and sister, except they didn't hate each other as much as typical brothers and sisters. Yeah. So she got in the fire service, she told me, because of me. And, and that's, God, it's an honor for me that she said that. She basically knew she wanted to help people, and so that's what drove her toward it. I'm not sure how I want to say it. I don't know where people stand who are listening on females in the fire service, and I guess part of me doesn't even care. I can tell you what I know about Nicole. Nicole, from grade school through college, got 1 B, and everything else she got an A. And she got that because of pure effort. I mean, first off, she's wicked smart, but she just would work her absolute ass off to get great grades. She would study so long and hard, and would not settle for anything less than the best. People worry about the physical fitness of that part. My niece was a physical fitness beast. Shout out to the Elmhurst CrossFit group. That was where she spent the bulk of her time. It's a great group. They did a huge fundraiser for my niece after this happened, and that we got plenty of money from that, which is paying for the park bench that we're going to donate in Nikki's name. But in fact, there's a workout named after it. There's workouts, right, in CrossFit and Murph and all those other things. Well, they named one for her, and I've done it a couple of times, and it will absolutely just put you on the floor. It's bar over burpees and clean and press and pull-ups, and just a series of those, and then you finish with a mile run with like a 100-pound bag on you. And it's I did it a couple times in honor of her. I definitely probably MF'd her through it because I was like, God damn, this is not fun.
And you're just going for time?
You do it for a certain amount of time, yeah. And then
How many rounds you can get in?
Right, it's an AMRAP for the first part, and then once you meet that time frame, then you take the bag and you go on the run.
Yeah.
And apparently because these were all her favorite exercises, which I definitely hate her for. 'Cause I'm not a pull-up guy or any of that, and burpees are just...
I'm not a burpee guy.
No, they absorb energy. That's all they do. They're the worst. So she was a rock star, and she was, she was up and coming. She went through the Broadview Explorer program, and she was great. And she killed that class. She got on Western Springs Fire Department as a part-timer. They have their own academy. She was the valedictorian of that class and won a leadership award. And then she got on Hinsdale. She tested for Hinsdale, and they hired her. And they put her through Romeoville's academy, and she was the valedictorian of that class and won a leadership award. So
there was nothing she wanted that she didn't work her ass off to.
Right. And so and I guess I'm trying to measure my words here. She got on Hinsdale. She was on Gold Shift. And I know we were in contact all the time, and she loved it. And I met her officer, and they were doing well. He had nothing but great things to say about her. And she won an award. She got a commendation for going above and beyond on an EMS run. And about 6 months into her time there, she got transferred to a different shift, and everything went south. She became despondent. Her text messages were, she didn't like the job anymore.
And you can attribute that specifically to her changing shifts.
That's what she would attribute it to, yeah. And so then she, eventually coming to the end, which is where she took her own life.
And how long had she been on by that time?
She was in her last week of probation when she did it. We wanted it looked into, and since then,
she reached out to you at all?
No,
this time?
And I've said this to my family, so I don't mind saying it. Is that's part of me that's mad at her. I would love for her to have known, and I'm mad at her that I suppose she didn't know, and I'm learning so much about the mental part of this. We talked about this, and Tracy Kenny's a big advocate of it, the chief of Broadview. We talked about this is the mental health of the firefighters. I'm mad that she didn't know that she could have reached out to me, and I found out later on that she knew that was an option, but she chose not to take it. But I know that if I would have known about any of this stuff, I would have fixed it. Either one way or the other, I would have fixed this problem. And someday when we meet again, we're going to have a discussion about that. But so we wanted to look into, the city of Hinsdale is investigating their people. There's other avenues that are being investigated.
You have suspicions of what caused her to commit suicide?
I do.
Okay.
And we do. And we know the truth will come out. And people from that organization have reached out, and the good people have reached out. And this will come out. But I guess what I really just want is I don't want her forgotten. She was so good at this, and she would have been just this bright, shining star, and somebody put that star out, and we're going to find out.
And that's, it seems like that's a testament to the mental strength that she had, was that she always knew that you were an avenue to fix a problem. And I can only imagine that, knowing from what I've heard of her, that, she was not the type of person that wanted someone else to solve her problems.
So that's what she left. She left messages to us, and that was part of it. She knew that there were avenues, but she didn't want to bother anybody. That was her style. And, and we talked about it a little bit, about the mental health part. I'm I'm learning a lot about it now. And just a couple takeaways is when people are in these situations, we as a family, we beat ourselves up over it. And it's the way I picture it is in my mind to make it make sense is that people in these situations who are willing to go to these lengths to do this, to end these problems, this is the only way out that they see. And the way I picture it is that they're in an ocean, they're floating, and they think there's nobody around to help them. But all of us are around them. Families out there, friends are out there, and they're literally just a few feet away with their hands out, ready to help. But we can see them drowning, but they can't see us. And that's how I picture Nicole in what got her to do this.
Right.
And the other thing anybody who's out there is, again, find your resources, the peer support, the Tracy Kennys of the world. But I learned that to engage is I knew something was wrong. But when we would talk about it, Nicole would always end it with a joke, like, well, blah, blah, it's bad, but she was taking Cicero's test. She was taking Berwyn's test. She was taking other tests. And she would always end it, yeah, but I have that test coming up, and that type of stuff. And so there was always hope.
Yeah.
So
There was always light. It was never just uneventful. And
yeah. But one of my regrets is I wish I would have engaged more. And that's if anyone's in this, people ask about advice and go see the experts. Again, Tracy Kenny gave advice. Engage them.
Well,
don't just ask
I know
what's wrong.
You advocate just reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? And you gave a speech at the funeral that you wanted people to know this department. Like, what were you referring to?
So, and that's, so my family, and a fault of mine is I don't share a lot of my stuff about the job to my family. And I've learned to be better about that. So obviously when this happened, Nicole's family, my family, did not have a positive view of the fire service. And, Corey, thank you, and thank the hundreds of others, is that wake came about. And we met with the family and her mom, Sharon, and her husband, Dan. And I went to, we set up the funeral arrangements, and they asked what you wanted. And the family everyone knew Nicole's passion for the fire service. So when we did the funeral service, they wanted, the bell. They wanted the bagpipers and the walkthrough. And I was so glad and that was what drove that talk that morning and I didn't know, and that was off the cuff, so I hope it came across well. But
it definitely did, because I heard about it secondhand. So it resonated with people.
If it helps, I don't remember quite what I said, to be honest with you. I knew in the moment I wanted to say something.
I think you were referring to the fact that people showed up and there was tradition and there was an outpouring of support, and that's what you wanted your family to see, and not the other side that you may have caused what happened.
Yeah.
And you wanted them to see the good in the fire service.
That's it.
Is that what you got out of it, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for coming.
Oh, of course.
Thank everybody who was part of that, because it did what I had hoped it would do. Is the fire service. Let's face it, we love this stuff. This is the greatest job in the world, and we all know it. And I knew that my family had only seen the bad side of it. That old bullshit brotherhood, close the ranks, and we're going to treat people like shit type stuff. And I wanted them to know that there's a good part of it, and this is one of those good parts. The way we support each other, and my family was overwhelmed with the show of support that came out. So every single human who came out to that thing, thank you so much.
And it was incredible. I mean, it was, first off, it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. Like the family did, they were. I mean, you guys were so classy about the whole thing. Again, as it pertains to a possible like disenchantment with the fire department. I mean, you would have thought that we were showing up to any other type of celebration. And I mean, it was a beautiful ceremony, and the amount of guys, the amount of support, like I couldn't believe that was. I was embarrassed to say that was the first one that I ever went to, the first funeral I ever went to, and I mean, it was just incredible to see the support and to see. I mean, your department, there was an incredible amount of guys there. I mean, there was just the support, and again, like that's like you said, that's what families need to see. I mean, you hear the silly jokes, you hear, the mess around, the us talking about how great we are to other firemen, and
right,
and then there's stuff like this that like and to me, going to stuff like this is not. It's not about. It's not about ourselves. It's not about. I mean, it's about the family, but it's more. I mean, to me, it's paying penance for the beautiful thing that we have, and to lend that support to whoever else is out there, to whoever else that needs that.
Yeah, Tracy Kenny gave a great speech. Shout to the international, the union, Matt Lepresti and Ben Zabutis from our job. They're on the honor guard, and they mustered all those services and made that happen and made it. They took all that weight off of me and us for that, and then if we talk about the difference between us and the civilians, is I knew what was coming. I knew the bell ceremony. I knew about the bagpiper. And I told my family about it, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be good. Thanks. It'll be nice. I'm like, listen, this is going to be emotional. And they did not at all, and they had never experienced that.
I don't think people can truly understand when you say emotional. I've unfortunately been to a few of those, and every time the bagpipes go,
oh, my God.
I cannot stop. Like, I try, so I'm like, this time I'm going to keep it together.
Yeah.
I'm not going to break down. But something about those goddamn bagpipes, man,
right?
It just goes right to your soul. And next thing you know, it's just pouring out of you.
I set up front,
it's so hard. I feel like I'm getting weaker and weaker the more I hear these bagpipes.
I sat up front with my family, and I tried to ready them for it. And they're like, we're going to be cool. We're going to be cool. And that gentleman walked in the bagpipe, and he hit that first note, and just waterworks.
Well, I can hear it in my head now. The drums, that first beat of the drums, and then they start ramping up. That 5-10 seconds.
Yep.
Like I feel like my soul rushing out of me. It is so you can't describe that to somebody. Somebody has to be sitting there in that environment, hearing that go on. It's beyond emotional.
Yeah.
Beyond emotional.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, those bells fuck me up.
The bells fuck you up, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
When they ring out ring out the final one.
Yeah, that's jarring.
And it's like it's always dead silent. It's really silent when those bells are going off.
How things been since?
So I would say that the family is managing as you would expect. There's a really misser. Certain things trigger the emotion stronger than more. First Christmas without her. Big family, big Christmas family. And then funny little things that pop up. Memories here, there, the other. A Snapchat video pop up. I saw her. I keep her picture in my truck, and I glanced up and looked at it, and that brings over a wave of emotions. And so we're doing okay. We have some that we're keeping an eye on, but I'm really glad that I'm once again grateful and honored that you guys wanted me to come to this thing.
Oh, the honor's ours. So if you heard some shuffling going on in the background while Brian was talking, that was actually Corey getting a drink together so that we can drink your honor.
Nikki.
To Nikki.
To Nikki.
Yeah, so thank you very, very much for coming on. It was awesome, and just hearing some of those stories, especially, I love hearing the stories of the old days, if you will. just the way the fire service was back in the day. And I'd be remiss if I didn't let you get out of here without letting Corey take the reins.
Hold on, I was gonna say, get him.
Well, you have him teed up right now, right?
I've got a couple things, but I'm gonna.
We are known for our research, Brian.
Yeah,
are you?
No,
great.
The hard hit. This is
really,
like 2020 firefighting podcast.
Yeah, Dateline.
So,
yeah, I think
they call us to say, "Hey, how would you handle this?"
What's Oprah's network now? That's a new one too. She's got one. You know what? Not to keep it because I'm not the sad guy, but is there? Are there any takeaways from anything with Nicole stuff that you would want to talk about? Anything that any advice you can give to people in her situation? Any advice you can give to new firemen that maybe are maybe not acting the way that could maybe.
If there's a problem, first off, if you're the person having it, reach out. We know there's resources out there, and I'll echo the same thing all the pros say is we're alphas, so we're not going to, right? We're here to help others, not ourselves. Don't do that. Reach out, whether it's family or somebody else. If you are the person on the other end that you're noticing the change, engage. That's the number one thing I wish I would have done is engage more. Simple text messages weren't enough. Some conversations
I
listened when you guys had Tracy on. If they're not going to engage, then be rude and go to the family and say, hey, here's what I've noticed. What's going on? We found out later on that Nicole had shared her feelings with her husband. But again, not blaming him at all because she verbalized how she was feeling to some degree, stronger with him than anybody else. But name anyone who committed suicide. You said, "Oh, I saw that coming for sure. That was definite." Almost all of them are like, "Oh my God, we never saw that coming."
Right.
That person would never do that.
Plus, I'm sure her husband didn't know what to do. With that.
So that's my thing is engage them, and we all talk. Hey, pull them on the side. Hey, how's things going? No, harder than that. I wish because
let's use you as an example. 32 years on the job, you've been there, done that. Somebody comes to you feeling that way. Are you going to look at them as being weak?
No.
Okay.
I would younger Brian Kulaga. Yeah. I'm blessed. When you're in this game this long, we've seen our share of crap. But I've never had to battle these issues myself. I don't know why. I have a great support system, at home and friendships, and so I've had to educate myself. A younger Brian would have looked at that as weakness. I don't look at it as weakness anymore. So no, not at all. In fact,
that's the point I want to make is that people can come to guys like you and anybody. This is just like you guys. Truck work isn't everything like it was back then. People can still go to company officers and other people within their department, and they're not going to be viewed as a weakness if you're having an issue, mental health-wise or anything. So if somebody can come to you with your time and experience on, and you're not going to view them as weak, everybody else should feel the same.
100% agree. One side thing that has occurred to this, I only shared this with my wife, so you guys are the second and third to know, is since my niece's, the event of my niece's life, I've had, I believe I'm at 4 or 5 other people have come to me and said, here's how I'm feeling. Can you help me? And now I'm not a pro. So it's caused me to educate myself, and my answer, I remember the first few were, I don't know what to do right now, but I'm going to find out what to do, and I'm with you. And it's caused me to reach deeper into the peer support system, to reach out to some of the experts in the world. There are resources out there that I didn't know existed.
What have you done? What kind of?
I've connected more with Tracy Kenny. I've connected more with peer support. I'm mad I have to look at my phone to get the gentleman's name. But I didn't know that there's a national organization started by a retired battalion chief based out of Illinois. And he God bless that guy. I should look up his name or give him a shout out. But he reached out to me. It's all about families of firefighters who have gone through this. And so I've joined his organization.
We'll get that number and we'll post it on our social media.
Okay. And and so you learn what's resources out there and learn how to handle it. Here's the drawback to us, right? So we're problem solvers in the fire service. Right. So people are like, right, same way we go on calls, like, hey, we go on fires, sure, those are great, but we're also going to go on a CO alarm, the stuck garage door, my furnace doesn't work. We're not furnace people, all of us. Well, we don't leave them, we try. Mm-hmm. This is the same situation. Just understand what you know and what you don't know, and don't say, all right, I don't know this, but I'm going to find out and make sure you get back to them. So that's what been trying to do, and that's the mantra, right? We think we'll talk to them as company officers. We go through these leadership classes all the time. I'll pull them on the side. I'm going to talk to them. No, we're not psychiatrists. We're not psychologists. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're going to get them to a bar and do this. But stay with them, but lead them toward where they can find that help and know how to find that help and get them to the experts.
Just start the process.
Right, but don't leave them. Don't leave them off to the process. Just here it is. I hand them off.
Yeah.
Stick with them. People are important, man, and I know we all think the same thing. They'll never do something. Yeah, I thought that too. So
do you think we're seeing more on this job than we used to?
1,000%.
Is that why we're having such an influx of suicides and mental health issues? Are we just getting overrun with what we're doing out there?
We've talked about it. And I know we can beat up why we're getting there, but the fact is we're getting there, and people.
I think we're there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers. The bottom line is, listen, we've all heard the tones drop for ambulance calls, right? And without a doubt, the number one ambulance call that has exponentially jumped up in my lifetime has been the calls for the psych or that the PD is calling us for the psych issues. And I'm not sure what you on the EMS side is even doing for that, but because I don't have to deal with it. But the bottom line is the fact is we're there. So we can ignore it or we can make fun of it, but it's there. And if you're going to be a decent human, you should be doing something about it. And so it's either educating yourself or at least very much knowing the resources you can turn to take care of these issues. And we can say, people are weak or whatever. That's all. Listen, it's all bullshit. You can say whatever
it is. All bullshit. The strongest person needs help from time to time, right?
Absolutely.
And I hope that we've at least done a little work of knocking down that stereotype.
Yeah.
So, and having guys like you on, I think, goes a long way toward doing that. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you guys for putting this message out. This is what helps break down those walls.
Yeah. Well, if it takes us a million swings, we're just gonna keep having a glass of whiskey with guys like you. And,
I'm in.
And do our best.
Right.
So,
all right.
You ready? You gonna get them?
All right.
What do you got?
All right. So, first off, I'd like to know the origin of you being called the Messiah.
Oh, Jesus.
With all due respect.
All right.
That doesn't mean you can still say whatever you want.
Wow, I was not expecting that one at all.
Oh,
all right,
yeah, that was the one?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a couple more.
No, fine. I like it. I'm in. I like the pressure.
Yeah.
That's all right. So that harkens back to some of the stuff you asked me. When did you make the change in the training? That's when that kind of came about. So bottom line is, I'm an idiot. All right, you guys have learned that with 4 seconds after meeting me. But I was trying to make a change in the world, and that was one of my changes. We need to be better. We can't just assume we know stuff. So all right, so I'm pressing training, and where that came about is I started getting the collection of humans around me who were like-minded and trying to motivate people, and I started to build a bit of a following to some degree. Why they're following me, I don't know. They like to follow stupid people, but
maybe it was the robe that I got with the fire department crest on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there was a chief in our organization, and he saw it. He didn't like it. And so he was the one who gave me that. He made,
oh, really?
Yeah.
A hater gave it to you.
A hater gave it to me, and I'm telling you, I'll take it from the great, like Jason Demas, great guy, boss out of Aurora. Take those insults and own them because it takes away the power. So like he said, he goes, "Why don't you go? What are you, one of his fucking Kulaga's disciples?" And that's where that first one came about, and then so we ran with it. In fact, there was a story out there that we pulled to a fire and the pumper couldn't get water. I walked over, I laid hands on the pumper, and lo, there was water. And little shit like that blew about. So it's just a ton of those things, and that's where that came about. It's just I was trying to change the world. I was blessed that some people came along with me, and that's where the Messiah thing came about.
Look at you rolling into a positive here.
So,
so Demas was another one that we got.
Yeah,
He's on the radar for sure.
Oh, you
He's
should
the
get
guy,
him.
huh?
Yeah. Especially his mustache might not fit through the door, but
Come on, another mustache.
big
We
ass.
just had a legendary mustache
I
in
thought the
here.
mustache
Really?
guys were
Well,
going
between
away.
his mustache and his ego, those two things might not fit in this room. And I
They're
meant,
coming in
I
fucking-
want him to definitely hear that comment. No, I love
Send
that.
the clip.
He's a great guy. I love that guy.
So kind of tagging along with the this, I just started laughing when I heard about it. Tagging along with the Messiah thing. You want to talk about the candle thing?
Jeez. All right, that's John Sachaki. He's a lieutenant on the truck, same truck as me. He relieves me. That guy's great. So smart, incredibly brave, just a hell of a fireman and a good leader. So we had a golf outing some years ago. It's a fundraiser we do every year, and that was his idea. He came up, he created 30 candles. I believe the number is 30. And we've all seen them, right? The Jesus candles, and whatever. So he praised Jesus with
the hand on
an image of me.
someone's
No, I mean, people say it looks good. Personally, I have a sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, Andy, lives in Arizona, and the picture was posted all over social media, and people were making fun of me. She got back to me. She goes, the picture looks good, but you look like a confused Tim Robbins, is what she called me. And it's a dead-on. If you look at a confused Tim Robbins and put it side by side, it's a dead-on ringer. She nailed it.
I got to tell you,
Now that I said
your
it?
hand up to your face,
Right?
as you were saying, I was like, dude, that little bit.
Right? With the gray hair, which I dye gray. It's usually blonde, but I do it to look smarter. And so I'm like, yep. As soon as she said that, I'm like, she nailed it.
God
So,
damn it.
so John took that photo and he put it on candles and he put it at so if you came to our golf outing, he had those candles on sale for $10 a piece. And he did it as a joke to kind of bust my stones. They sold out in like 4 minutes. And people were saying, I need another candle. In fact, the great Kevin Sears bought one and then accidentally dropped it and broke it.
Oh, no.
So he's screwed. He's like, I need another one. I'm like, tough shit, buddy. Those are a collector's item now.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
So, yeah.
Sitting
So
there
that's
drinking whiskey with it burning in the background.
yeah. So if you
That
go,
would
if
be
you,
a great
if,
set piece for this place.
so if you go to my firehouse, it's been there for several years. They put my picture all over the place. The clock in our kitchen has my picture on it, and then every number has a smaller version of my picture on it. And it's all ball bust. God bless the fire service. It's the greatest job in the world. If they're not busting your balls, they must not like you.
Right.
And so that's what it came about. In fact, so I did the Sting and Lions, and I come to work the next day, and there was a shrine up to me. I got a picture on my phone. They had the candle there. They got the Rescue Me DVD, Backdraft DVD, Ladder 49, a fire extinguisher, bunch of bullshit. And I came in, they're all on their knees. They're paying homage to it like a bunch of assholes.
And rugs out all of a sudden.
Yeah, God bless them, those guys. So, they're throwing a couple of dollar bills at it. That's what we do for, right? And I'm
That's
like,
what we do for.
it's sons of bitches. So that's where that came about.
Based on how you get your balls busted a little bit.
Yeah.
What have you fired out? What kind of great pranks have you?
So there's some that we can't talk about because they're a little off color.
Yeah, we'll talk about them later.
All right. I guess some of my favorites, a lot of them about fireworks.
You're a fireworks guy, huh?
Yeah, I am. Hey, you gotta love it a little bit, right? That's what Rimgate or Sutherland said in the movie, right? And in fact, I got to reach out to De Niro on this because we're good buddies because we met in the movies. You ever hear about it?
No. What?
All right.
And we are known for our research.
All right.
As
So
you said earlier.
let me give you the prank thing, but I got to give you my De Niro story.
You're not leaving here without the De Niro story.
All right, fine. So the prank thing, fine. I'll just give you one. So our old truck, we just got rid of it. Our truck one, my old truck when I was on, old Seagrave. God bless. I love Seagrave. And so the cab was the officer and the driver, and all that separated you from the back steppers was a sliding glass door.
Yep.
Little window, tiny 6x8 window. And so the back steppers would sit, and they'd be in this little tight area with a doghouse. The diamond plate and the engine next to them, they couldn't hear shit. They got CO poisoning. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They were dying back there. So in this old truck, but God bless that Seagrave ran like a top. So what we would do is we would have smoke bombs. And so we would drive around. We would get on Ogden Avenue, and because it's a busy street because the guy couldn't jump out, otherwise he'd die because we're doing 50 miles an hour. And as soon as we got on Ogden Avenue, we start launching. We'd open up the sliding glass door and we start launching smoke bombs back there, and we'd smoke the shit out of them. And we did that to 1,000 guys. and we get them puking and stuff. You know, it starts. One of the best things is just the little small round ones, right? We buy them by the gross, and you tie 2 or 3 together. And one of my favorites is this guy Max is back there, and we start driving, and me and the driver, my buddy Timmy, he's a chief now, so if I get in trouble, he's going down with me. So Max is back there, and I'm like, fuck, I forgot a lighter. Well, Max smokes, so I literally slide the window open. And I'm like, hey, Max, you got your lighter? And he passed it to me. He passed me. I light 3 smoke bombs right away, and I fire them back there. And I just light like 20, and I just keep firing them. And so we're cruising down Ogden Avenue. We're doing Mach 5, so you can't jump out. Black, blue, green, yellow smoke is pouring out the back of this truck. And I look next to me, and there's a truck full of landscape guys. And they were like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I'm just like giving them a thumbs up. Like, yeah, this is all normal. Don't worry about it, buddy. And God, we got 1,000 guys that way. And it was so much fun. And then, so that was one of our favorite pranks to pull off.
I would love to see that truck go by with just the smoke coming out of the
right? Can you imagine? We always imagine what were civilians thinking seeing this shit.
Especially the multicolored smoke.
Yeah, right. It was yellow, green, blue.
You know what's going on there,
right? We're the front guys are laughing, the back guy's hanging out the back, throwing his guts up out the window. It's awesome, you know. So. But, all right.
So, Bobby,
is
that what you call him?
Yes.
Come on.
I swear to God. So, all right, you guys raise your hand if you've seen Backdraft.
Oh, yeah.
Have you? All right, God bless you.
I just watched it like 2 days ago.
I think
because if it comes on at the firehouse, what do you got to do? It doesn't get turned off.
No, absolutely not. Right? That's standard ops. So back in the day, I'm on a job and they're filming Backdraft in Chicago. So you all seen the movie. So at the end, there's that scene where I don't want to ruin it for anybody who's hasn't seen it yet. but a couple people die in it, and there's a big funeral scene. So they're going to shoot the scene. So no internet back then. So they throw flyers out to all the local departments. Anybody with a dress uniform show up at like 4 a.m. At this location down by Michigan Avenue for filming a fire scene. And so a bunch of us said, "Yep, we're in. Let's do this." But in true fire department fashion, we get completely loaded. And we drink all night.
I mean, obviously, that's the move.
Right. You have to, right? It's mandatory. It's almost like a rule. You're getting written up if you don't. Right. So we show up. Bombed along with 1,000 other firefighters from all over the area, a lot of Chicago dudes.
I was just say, with you guys being the jumping off point.
Yeah.
And then,
right?
Working your way east.
Yeah. So we hit every bar in the joint. And so we show up at 4 a.m. We're all bombed. And we're on Michigan Avenue. The sun's coming up. And we're all lined up. We're in dress uniform. I have 1,000 firemen. 800 of us are easily bombed off our ass. So Ron Howard comes down.
Got your T-shirt, got your shirts on backwards.
Yeah. So Ron Howard comes down. He's in a man lift. He's got the megaphone. He's like, "We're going to shoot this scene, blah, blah, blah." And you're all familiar with the scene. We're all walking down Michigan Avenue, right? All right. So we're going to shoot the scene. And he says, "We got all these cameras." He's pointing. There's like 13 cameras around. He says, blah, blah. He goes, "Do me a favor. Don't do anything." He says, "When I say action, just walk forward. Don't look sideways. Don't grab your hat. Don't do anything untoward because we want you all to be a very solemn moment in the movie, blah, blah." All right. So we line up. Ron Howard's on the thing. He says, "Action." We take 3 steps. And some guy in the crowd grabs his hat, raises it up, blah, blah, and he's waving it around, right? So cut, stop, I can't have this, back up. We start backing up. We take 14 takes. We can't get 5 fucking steps. Guys are doing cartwheels. Guys are fucking jumping on each other's backs.
Somebody doesn't have pants on.
Yeah, there's 1,000. We want to see ourselves, so I get it. I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
Right? So Ron Howard comes down, and he after like 14, 15, 17 takes,
I fucking hate firemen so much.
So he comes down. He's on the man list. So he starts talking to everyone. "Listen, fellas, I need you to be better, blah, blah." And as he's trying to talk to us, someone in the crowd yells out, "Shut the fuck up, Opie!" And I'm like, holy fuck. They just told Ron Howard Opie. And that opened up a cavalcade of insults to Opie.
It wasn't going to get better.
No, guys told him to go fuck himself. They told him to go have sex with his mom. Just a ridiculous amount of insults to Opie. And he can't talk anymore. You don't even hear him anymore. He's talking. Nobody, and we are just bombing him. So
it's just fucking a free-for-all at this
No,
point.
Absolutely. So he gives up and he leaves. And
you
so
just heckled him off of Michigan Avenue.
We did.
Oh, Jesus.
So now he leaves. So now we're all milling around. Like, what do we do now? Where's the open bar, right?
Right.
And word circulates through the crowd
Are they hungry?
of 1,000 firemen that De Niro's coming. And we're like, what? And we all look down the street, and here comes De Niro. He's got an entourage around him, and they're trying to have him a megaphone. They're telling him to get a man lift, and he's waving them all off. Get the hell out of here, blah, blah. And he wades into the sea of firefighters. And he starts talking, "Gather around, lads, gather around, and we all gather around him, and I got a nice close-up to him. And he's like, "Listen, fellas," he says, "Ron's in trouble. This scene is costing like $1 million an hour to shut down Michigan Avenue. He's over budget. They're going to kill this movie. So for me, we got to get this scene shot. So for me, guys, can you do me a favor? Can we get this thing done? And we look at him, we go, all right, Bobby, you got it. For you, no problem. And so we line back up. They call action. We got it done.
First take.
3 takes. It took us 3 takes to walk down Michigan Avenue. We were done. Because the first take, the first guy, we walk a couple steps and some guy does something. 18 guys turn him, you piece of shit. You fucking hear what Bobby said? We'll beat your goddamn ass.
I'm gonna fucking whoop your ass, throw you in the fucking
Fucking get in line. And I'm sorry for swearing, but so we got done in 3 takes, and that was it. It was over. It was great. So I have since tried to contact Bobby, my newfound fame.
No.
He's not taking my calls.
No.
So
He's busy. There's a lot going on.
I figure he'll get back to me eventually.
I don't think I can ever see that scene again. The same.
Right?
I wish I saw the outtakes.
Oh, my God.
I'd like to see the fucking gag reel on this thing.
Oh, Jesus. Guys, like I said, guys are doing the stupid ass shit just to get on scene.
Fucking walking down. There's just a row of guys, no pants on, just like fucking cruising down Michigan Avenue.
Yeah, it was great. So, yeah, and then they had us all line up. We go into some trailer. They cut us all checks for like $60, and we took that and we ran to some bar after
Let's
that.
say you went home.
No, not at all. They're like, what's open? So, on a Sunday morning near here. So,
Jesus.
anyway, that's my De Niro story.
Well,
So if he hears this, I know you guys are huge across the country. You're international.
We are huge.
So, Bobby, if you're listening, remember me.
We're the number one podcast in Lithuania.
All right.
Mongolia, I think it was.
And Mongolia. Yeah.
Outer Mongolia. Yeah, you guys are big.
Yeah, we are
dude,
huge.
I mean, there's 3
listen,
3 radio stations there.
I've got a big family, so I expect like 8 or 9 definite subscribers out of this thing for sure.
Oh, man.
It's triple our rating.
No, it's not nothing. I'll tell you right now, right?
Well, Brian, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
It was a fucking blast having you on. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. And if you ever want to come back, you got an open invitation.
Dude, I am absolutely want to come back. I want to come back with Josh or Griff or Sears or any of those
Come
guys.
back with them all.
Absolutely.
Be like the fucking door guy here.
Yeah.
I will.
All right, hold on.
Absolutely. This has been a great experience. I'm super jacked over this, and you guys are the best.
Well, thank you so much.
You.
If Steve was here, he would tell you to subscribe or go to the web. What would he tell us?
Go to the website.
The website, chicagosbravest.com.
Yep. And then buy some clothes.
Go
or things.
We have the challenge coins now. Well, get those Kevin Casey shirts. Those are pretty badass. Just everything.
2 cast members of Backdraft on this fucking show.
Huge.
It's not nothing.
Oh, me and Kevin?
We're
pretty much the same guy.
I mean.
So go to that, like and subscribe.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my 14 subscribe people who follow me on Twitter, and I'm telling them to all go to
There
this.
you go.
It's not
There
nothing,
you go.
man. It's not nothing.
Fine, we will build a movement, gentlemen. I told you how it works.
Romeoville's
Right.
fire camp.
Go there and then send us a comment that says Brian Kulaga sent you. And,
Yeah. And you get a free, I'll give you, first time I see you, I'll buy you a shot.
We'll give you something.
Shots for anybody who subscribes.
At
under
one
my
particular
name.
bar, at one specific bar, you can buy shots.
Right. Yeah, it's in Lyons. I won't tell you.
Waterworks,
It's not
yeah.
open yet, but it will be open at some point.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Chicago's Bravest Stories. Thanks for tuning in.
The opinions and views are that of Chicago's Bravest Stories podcast and their guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any municipal governments, fire protection districts, fire departments, EMS, or law enforcement organizations.